Chapter 1378. The phrase "by myself" shocked them all. These words were not just arrogant, they were domineering. They had to admit that it was effective. The strength that Etianyan had shown previously had surpassed many heavenly venerables. But Etianyan was alone. Could this really work? Heavenly Cloud Ruler, the sacred peak celestial realm that we are facing is too powerful. There are at least 10 heavenly venerables. This is not going to be easy. Elder Go Huang was shocked, but he quickly calmed down. These things needed to be calm. They couldn't just join in a moment of passion. There's no need to say more. Let's join your celestial realm. Glazed Protectorate Lord made his choice. The other elders were shocked. A Grade 2 God realm joining a Grade 1 God realm? If word of this got out, it would be a joke. There had never been such a precedent, but now they were the ones who had said it. Lord Glazed Protectorate Lord this? They wanted to cry, but no tears came out. They didn't know what to say. Once Glazed Protectorate Lord made a decision, she would never change her mind. It was like this before, and it was like this now. Do you think that I am hot-headed and make a decision at random? Glazed Protectorate Lord shook his head. If we don't join forces now, are we going to wait until the sacred peak celestial realm approaches? Everything was set in stone the moment we resisted. But no matter what, it's still a Grade 1 God realm expert joining us. Elder Go Huang and the others were no fools. They knew what the situation was like, but they really couldn't accept joining a Grade 1 God realm. It was like a powerhouse worshipping a weakling as his master. In the end, they couldn't accept this. It wasn't that they couldn't accept cooperation. It seems that you are still unwilling to put down your pride. Didn't you see the Heavenly Cloud Ruler's strength? Now he is the one who wants us to join, not the other way around. Glazed Protectorate Lord shook his head. Elder Go Huang and the others fell silent. What Glazed Protectorate Lord said was right. The strength that Etianyan had shown was enough to defeat them. So what if he was a Grade 1 God realm? Etianyan alone was already much stronger than them. At the very least, if a few Grade 3 God realm heavenly venerables came, they wouldn't be able to handle them. But if we join their forces, we'll have to go to great lengths to relocate. Moreover, the environment in a Grade 1 God realm is much worse. Why don't they move over to our God realm? No matter which side they joined, they would have to move their base. They couldn't just abandon this place and run away, right? What a waste. Although not all of the planets could be moved away, at least some of them could. If possible, they didn't want to move away. They felt that this place was more secure. And this was only in comparison to a Grade 1 God domain. No, you guys should move to my faction. We don't have much time left. Etianyan shook his head and rejected their suggestion. The Heavenly Spring Celestial Realm wasn't bad, but for now, it was still weaker than his 3 realms Celestial Realm. This wasn't just nonsense. The God Spirit race went all out. There were all kinds of great formations on the planets, and they were much more outstanding than this place. Alright, there's no time to lose. Let's move immediately. Region Lord Lioli immediately issued an order. She had always been very decisive and would not go back on her word. Elder Go Huang and the others had bitter smiles on their faces. They could only choose to obey. Soon they quickly issued an order. At the same time, they controlled several important planets to transform into spirit ships and quickly flew away. Actually, it wasn't difficult to transform them into spirit ships. Any Grade 2 God realm could do this. However, it required a lot of materials, and the speed wasn't very fast. Are you guys really that fast? Etianyan looked at the moving planets. Their speed wasn't even 10% of the 3 realms. It was really too slow. This is considered slow? It's already fast enough. How can such a big planet be fast? Elder Go Huang and the others almost jumped up. In their opinion, it was already very fast. At the same time, they were also proud that they were one of the best among the many Grade 2 God realms. Alright. Etianyan didn't say much. The 3 realms was created by a super almighty. Naturally, it was much faster than them. However, it was still better than not being able to move them. They could move as many planets as they could. When they announced that they were leaving and choosing to join the 3 realms God realm, the cultivators were in an uproar. They felt that it was a humiliation for a Grade 2 God realm to join a Grade 1 God realm. Some of them chose to leave, while others chose to stand their ground and retreat together with them. The main reason was that some people heard the news that they had offended the sacred peak God realm. Hence they all chose to leave. They didn't stop them. In such a situation, it was normal for disciples to choose to leave. Those who stayed were the most loyal. However, seeing so many disciples choose to leave, they felt a heartache. The foundation that they had cultivated for so many years was gone just like that. There were still many planets in the God realm that couldn't be moved. It wasn't that they didn't want to leave, but that they couldn't. Only a portion of the planets could be moved. If we didn't choose to leave, I think there would be many people who would choose to stay. Elder Go Huang and the others sighed, frowning. I don't think so. Those who should leave will leave eventually. Haven't you all seen this happen many times? Region Master Liuli wasn't pessimistic at all. Instead, she looked calm. And this isn't a wrong decision. Do you think I'm the kind of person who would make a rash decision? They immediately stopped talking. They weren't like that in the past, but now it was hard to say. When they saw that Yi Tianyan was strong, they immediately surrendered to him. They all felt that it was a loss. Yi Tianyan was very strong, but when the time came, they would be facing a Grade 3 God realm. Tianyan insisted that we move to his place. I think it's the safest place. There are many secrets that we don't know about there. Region Master Liuli smiled and said, if I'm not wrong, Tianyan is so calm. He must have the help of a powerhouse, or some special power. This time, everyone looked at her. After thinking about it carefully, it was really possible. Yi Tianyan didn't seem like a fool. How could he make a wrong decision at random? Yes, there is indeed a powerhouse helping. However, they will only come to help when the battle of the God realm begins. Yi Tianyan looked at them and smiled. But you don't have to worry. As long as it's not the entire Sacred Peak God realm attacking, I am confident that I can stop them. They won't be able to return. The cold smile on Yi Tianyan's face made them shudder. They immediately thought of the tragic situation of the two holy masters. They were really killed in seconds. Chapter 1379. The other elders were very pessimistic. On the other hand, Glaze Region Master's heart was as clear as a mirror. Combined with Yi Tianyan's situation, she knew he had some confidence. Even if he wasn't very strong, at least he had more confidence than the Heavenly Spring Sacred Realm. She never dared to act recklessly. While others thought she was hot-headed, her head was clearer than anyone else's. Yi Tianyan's cultivation level alone is worth it for her to fight. If he could reach this level in a short period of time, it was enough to prove that he wasn't simple. He must have had a fortuitous encounter, or had a powerful background. If he concealed his strength, it was even more obvious. He was already very strong to begin with, so he was the most suitable partner. I hope he can continue to surprise me this time. Glaze Region Master looked at Yi Tianyan, her eyes filled with hope. She felt that Yi Tianyan would always give her a little hope. She hoped that there would be a miracle this time. At the same time, the Sacred Peak Sacred Realm was in an uproar. The death of two heavenly venerables was undoubtedly a heavy slap to their faces, especially since these two heavenly venerables were from another sacred realm. This meant that they could participate in the sacred realm battle to snatch the token core. Now that two heavenly venerables were dead, it meant that they had lost two extremely powerful experts. What's going on here? How can a mere Grade 2 God realm possess such power? One of the experts sitting on the throne looked coldly at the people below. All of the elders were trembling uncontrollably. They were so frightened by this majestic aura that their bodies were trembling. The expert in front of them was without a doubt the Sacred Peak Sacred Realm's domain master. Naturally, his real name wasn't Sacred Peak. It was just that every domain master used the name of a god realm. This way, people would know which god realm they belonged to. Yes. According to the information we received, the other party has a helper. Moreover, it's a Grade 1 God Realm helper. He's from the Three Realms God Realm that appeared recently. The Three Realms God Realm was originally called the Chaos Celestial Realm. It's a land without a master. It's extremely chaotic. To conquer the Chaos Celestial Realm, One needs to be at least a half-step heavenly venerable, or a heavenly venerable. Therefore, the Chaos Celestial Realm is stronger than most Grade 1 God realms. Being able to control the Chaos Celestial Realm means that the Domain Master isn't simple. From the looks of it, the two heavenly venerables are dead. It's possible that the Domain Master of the Three Realms and the Domain Master of the Heavenly Spring Divine Realm teamed up. It could also be a sneak attack, or it could be a plot. Enough! The Sacred Peak Domain Master slammed the chair and said coldly, I don't want analysis, I want results. Tell me simply, which one of you will go over and completely flatten their god territories? Don't waste your breath on me. The Domain Master of St. Peak was just that domineering. What he wanted was not useless analysis, but a simple and direct result. Submit to me and prosper, oppose me and perish. The elders below looked at each other. These were the local powerhouses of the Sacred Peak Divine Realm. There were 7 or 8 Empyrean venerables sitting on the side. Those who could sit down were all important figures, and the elders who were standing had high cultivation levels, but they were still a far cry from them. Only Empyrean-level powerhouses could sit here and talk. Even a Peak Divine Lord, which was a half-step Empyrean, had to stand. In a third-grade god territory, this was the difference in treatment. Without an Empyrean cultivation level, one had no right to speak at all. The 4 of us will go over. At this time, the 4 elders sitting on the side stood up together. The highest cultivation level was a late-stage lower heavenly venerate, while the lowest was an early-stage lower heavenly venerate. Sending 4 of them at once was considered a relatively large move. 2 Empyreans died there, which proves that the other party is not simple. The 4 of us are best at working together. If we work together, even an early-stage middle heavenly venerate will not be a match for us. Unless the other party has a mid-stage or late-stage middle heavenly venerate powerhouse, we can easily take them down. If there is really an accident, it won't be a problem for us to escape. The leader was the second elder of the Sacred Peak God territory, Empyrean North Peak. His cultivation level was the highest. As for the Great Elder, he sat on the side and did not stand up. The Great Elder's cultivation level was undoubtedly the highest. He was an early-stage middle heavenly venerate, so he was naturally quite top-notch. However, he did not need to go. If even he was sent over, they would really be looking down on these god territories. If 5 elders were to go, how could they not look down on the other party? If they sent too many, they would not be praised for being cautious. It would only show that they were too weak. When the other god territories found out, would they laugh out loud? The Sacred Peak Domain Master looked at them and said sternly, All right, I'll leave it to you. Only success is allowed, failure is not allowed. The myriad heaven god territory is laughing at us. You must take them down. He was very confident in the 4 heavenly venerates. He knew how strong they were. When they worked together, they were indeed very powerful. Even if they faced a powerful heavenly venerate, they had full confidence in escaping. Yes, Sacred Peak Domain Master. The 4 of them immediately turned around and flew out, not staying any longer. If they said they would eradicate them, they would eradicate them. They would use the fastest speed to wipe out these god territories that had offended their dignity. The myriad heaven god territory was their enemy, so they would be aware of even the slightest movement on their side. If a heavenly venerate died here, the other side would definitely be overjoyed. They could not wait for the fewer powerhouses on their side, the better. Sacred Peak Domain Master, looks like you were really careless. You lost 2 heavenly venerates against a Grade 1 and Grade 2 god territory. This aspect should be strengthened. Right now, we're stuck at a critical juncture. We can't help you snatch the token core. You'll have to rely on yourselves. That's right. We can't make any mistakes. If we fail this god territory battle, you can imagine the consequences. The lords above will be very dissatisfied. The powerhouses sitting on the side all released a powerful aura. It was obvious that their cultivation base was at the middle heavenly venerate level. Some had even reached the late heavenly venerate level. These were undoubtedly the helpers from the upper god territory. They were all sitting here, watching the Sacred Peak Domain's every move. There will definitely be no mistakes this time. Everything was due to carelessness. This time we will send them to investigate clearly. We will definitely solve the problem perfectly. Unless there are other forces helping us, we can easily eradicate them. The Sacred Peak Domain Master's back was drenched in cold sweat. These powerhouses were his biggest reliance. If they abandoned him, then the God Territory battle would be over. At the end of the day, the Sacred Peak Domain Master looked so arrogant, but he was still a pawn of the Upper God Territory. That's good. However, it could also be the help of other God territories. Right now, many forces don't look like much on the surface, but they have powerhouses secretly guarding them. We won't make a move unless it's a critical moment. Otherwise, it will affect your providence. The Heavenly Venerates nodded. Carelessly helping would affect their providence. This was not something they wanted to see. Chapter 1380. The Sacred Peak Celestial Realm had already sent people to destroy the Heavenly Spring Celestial Realm. This news spread quickly among the other celestial realms, and everyone was watching the situation. Most of the celestial realms were gloating. Who asked the Sacred Peak Celestial Realm to be so arrogant? They had finally suffered a setback. However, they also felt sympathy for Tianyan. He would soon be destroyed by the Sacred Peak Celestial Realm. The Sacred Peak Celestial Realm was one of the top celestial realms. Facing such a powerful force, no one was willing to provoke them, unless it was a critical moment. As for whether or not the celestial realm would help, that was impossible. No matter how much they disliked the Sacred Peak Celestial Realm, they would not help Tianyan. The reason was simple. The battle of the celestial realms was about to begin. They had to accumulate all their strength until then. If they used it now, it would be a waste, and the other celestial realms might benefit from it. That would be the biggest loss. As the four heavenly venerables chased after them, they quickly reached the Heavenly Spring Celestial Realm. When they arrived, they saw that most of the forces had been withdrawn. There were still some cultivators here. Boom! An explosion blasted one of the planets into pieces. The cultivators inside lost their souls from the explosion, and most of them were directly killed. A small number of them survived, and were caught by Heavenly Venerate North Peak. He looked at the cultivator coldly and asked, "Are only trash like you left in the celestial realm?" Yes. Only trash like us are left. I heard that they chose to leave. I don't know where they went. Please let me go. I'll tell you everything." The cultivator's eyes were filled with fear. He did not even have the courage to lie when he was suppressed by such a powerful force. Heavenly Venerate North Peak threw him, and the cultivator immediately turned into a pile of ashes. Then he grabbed a few more cultivators, and no one knew where they went. In fact, apart from some elders, most cultivators didn't know where they would be going, let alone them. This was the effect that Tianyan wanted. It looked like they were being transferred, but no one knew where they were being transferred to. Perhaps the celestial realm of the three realms would become a battlefield. At least they would not be easily intercepted during the transfer. After interrogating a large number of cultivators, they finally chose to give up. God Realm of the Three Realms. Heavenly Venerable North Peak's gaze was cold as he said, "They might have moved to the Three Realms Divine Realm. Regardless of whether they have reached the Three Realms Divine Realm, let's flatten it first." Heavenly Venerable North Peak immediately changed his target and headed to the Three Realms Divine Realm. The four of them nodded to each other, tore open the void, and flew away, quickly disappearing from the empty God domain. While they were flying towards the divine realm of the three realms, Tianyan had already bid farewell to Glazed Region Lord and the others and returned to the divine realm of the three realms in advance. He felt that the Sacred Peak Celestial Realm would definitely send someone to take revenge. If they couldn't find the person, they would definitely head to the Three Realms Celestial Realm. These were all inevitable unless the Sacred Peak Divine Realm swallowed their anger. The problem was that this was impossible. As a powerful force, it was impossible for them not to take revenge. If it was Tianyan, he would have done the same. Since he had killed someone on his side, he definitely had to take revenge. Of course, Tianyan wouldn't allow his subordinates to do such a thing. After Tianyan returned to the Three Realms Divine Realm, he didn't let anyone be on guard. Instead, he covered the entire divine realm with his spiritual perception. He could observe every detail. This was the effect of having the "I am the domain lord" title. He dared to act so recklessly because he had something to rely on. He didn't rely on his 3 senior brothers, but purely on himself. He had many trump cards, and this title was one of them. It was a super powerful trump card that could definitely stop intruders. This top title not only enhanced his damage, but it also allowed him to teleport at will. Coupled with the abilities he had previously obtained, he wouldn't have to worry even if a middle heavenly venerable came, much less a lower heavenly venerable. Another thing was to earn experience. Since the Sacred Peak Celestial Realm was so arrogant, he would deal them a heavy blow. He bet that the other party definitely wouldn't send everyone, but only a small portion. He had long figured out the background of these powerful forces. Each and every one of them was extremely arrogant. At first, they wouldn't even put him in their eyes. This kind of common sense would only make them suffer. In this way, sending a few heavenly venerable powerhouses over wasn't just giving him experience, but also helping him eliminate some enemy powerhouses in advance. It was mainly to give experience. Outside the 3 realms divine realm, his combat strength wasn't that strong. Taking advantage of the fact that the divine realm battle hadn't started yet, he could reap a huge harvest in advance. Tianyan didn't tell anyone about this. There was no need to alarm anyone. As for announcing his participation in the divine realm battle, he would wait for the Glazed Region Lord and the others to arrive. After he stayed here for a period of time, waves of fluctuations finally came from the void at the edge of the 3 realms divine realm. Following that, 4 figures appeared in the 3 realms divine realm. Each cultivator exuded a powerful aura. A Grade 1 divine realm is indeed a Grade 1 divine realm. The environment is too bad. How long has it been since I came here? One of the elders shook his head, his eyes full of disgust and disgust. This feeling was like a rich man entering a slum. It's rare to see a heavenly venerable here. It's very likely that a Grade 3 divine realm sent a heavenly venerable here to occupy this place. But what's the point of this? A Grade 1 divine realm is too trashy. I don't want it even if it's for free. Who cares what the situation is? Let's flatten all the way and see what the owner of this place is capable of. The 4 of them nodded to each other. When they were about to start attacking from the nearest planet, a shadow fiercely slashed down from the side, and a crack suddenly appeared in the dark void. Heaven slaughtering divine art, metal annihilation. A sense of crisis surged from behind them, causing them to open their pores and mobilize the strongest power in their body to resist. Their reaction was fast enough, but the attack was even faster. Boom. One of the wood attribute elders was directly split in half by a golden light. The golden light was very dazzling in the void. The body that was split in half was swallowed by the surging metal attribute energy. It didn't even have a chance to be reborn before it was completely suppressed. Ding. Successfully killed Heavenly Venerable Huan Mu. Reward: 80,000 compressed EXP, 1,000 compressed crazy point, 1,000 SPS. Obtained Huan Mu's spiritual treasure, clear sky armor, high-grade heavenly Dao, heavenly wood divine art. Successfully killed a heavenly venerable Huan Mu. Reward: 30,000 compressed EXP. Chapter 1381. This sudden attack did not end there. A golden spear turned into a fiery red color. It was like a red-hot iron rod as it swept toward one of the elders. Whether it is speed or strength, both reached the extreme in an instant. The elder with golden physique was shocked by the scene in front of him. He wanted to quickly block the spear, but the spear had already hit his head, and his consciousness instantly disappeared. Xiong! The flame quickly swallowed the body, turning it into a pile of flying ash, drifting around. Successfully killed Heavenly Venerate Scarlet Gold. Reward: 85,000 EXP, 1,000 crazy point, 1,000 SPS. Obtained Golden Spirit Treasure, Golden Moon Divine Art, 50 times EXP card. Successfully killed a Heavenly Master, 30,000 EXP points. The battle was far from over. The figure swept out once again, wanting to kill the other 2 Heavenly Venerables. The remaining 2 Empyreans rapidly gathered together. With a loud roar, the Empyrean spirit treasures within their bodies were released, transforming into thick invincible shields. Boom! After the heavy spear smashed down, the two of them were sent flying. There were only a few more cracks on the thick protective shield, and it did not shatter under the impact of the spear. Fire attribute and the special wind attribute, the effect is not bad? The person who appeared in front of them is naturally Yi Tianyan. Through the 50 times damage of the title, there is also the stacking of the attribute suppression, accompanied by a terrifying suppression. The title not only enhances the damage, but also the suppression, but for heavenly masters, the weakening effect is not much, only about 20% or so. Although it is only a little bit, for them, it is basically equivalent to cutting off an arm. With this title and the suppression, he didn't even need to rely on his crazy damage mode to kill a heavenly venerate. But it is just a lower heavenly master. If it is a middle heavenly master, then he needs to activate the crazy damage mode. This is the proof of the saying, in my territory I call the shots. Divine Emperor level? Their eyes almost popped out of their sockets. The strong person who killed them turned out to be a divine emperor. This is something they didn't think of. If the other party was a middle heavenly master, they wouldn't be surprised. Now that he was a divine lord cultivator, the aura he gave them was as such. For the first time in their lives, they wondered if their judgment was wrong. It felt like he was a divine lord, but the power he displayed was comparable to a middle heavenly venerate. He was even more heaven-defying than a middle-level heavenly venerable. Even if a middle-level Empyrean killed their way over, they wouldn't be so stealthy. 2 elders were killed almost instantly, scaring them until their limbs went soft. They had thought that they would be able to join forces, but now 2 of them had already died. As for their combined defense, it was even more fragile, and had almost been smashed apart. What cultivation level is important? Killing all of you is enough. Yi Tianyan sneered. The starry divine spear in his hand didn't stop for even a moment. He waved it and smashed it against the shield. The 2 Empyrean venerables' faces turned serious, and they immediately changed their mentality. They knew that if they didn't counterattack, only death awaited them. Thus, when the wind and fire attributes were stacked together, they immediately formed an extremely powerful tornado. The energy of this tornado covered a large area, besieging over towards Yi Tianyan. It was a siege with virtually no blind spots. The horrifying tornado even turned into a wall, sealing off all escape routes. This level of horrifying tornado was enough to tear apart all space. The void was rapidly torn apart under this tornado. It was useless to hide in the void. This was the effect of fire giving birth to wind. It could make the power of the tornado stronger. After joining forces, the power was greatly enhanced. All at once, the effect soared to the power of an early-stage Middle Empyrean cultivation. It was just a pity that there were only 2 people. If the 4 of them joined forces, the power could absolutely suppress ordinary early-stage Middle Empyrean powerhouses. They could even fight with middle-stage powerhouses. The power is still alright, but it's still too far off. Suppress. The starry divine spear in Yi Tianyan's hand waved. An invisible force transmitted over from the void, suppressing down fiercely from the sky. The originally violent tornado became an ordinary tornado all at once. The power was cut down by 30%. This was his territory after all. As long as it was energy, it could be suppressed. Immediately after, he smashed down with his spear again. This tornado was easily broken. He rushed up and pierced through one of the fire attribute heavenly venerables. Heaven-slaying divine art. Water annihilation. A thick water attribute aura was mobilized from the 5-element core in his body. The starry divine spear in his hand seemed to be filled with water attribute power. In an instant it was already in front of him. Defend. The 2 of them immediately cooperated, and once again built a thick barrier. This kind of barrier was equivalent to a special kind of wind barrier. It could withstand extremely strong attacks. Especially when the 2 of them joined forces, their defensive power was even stronger. Break for me. Yi Tianyan's eyes turned cold. The starry divine spear in his hand glowed with a golden light. The all-conquering power of magic gold was released. Mixed with the power of water immediately turned into a sharp sword that stabbed down. Clang. The thick wind barrier was easily cut open. The other party was shocked. This was a treasure formed by their Empyrean spiritual treasure. How could it be so easily broken? Puffed. After piercing the wind barrier, the spear directly pierced through the fire attribute Heavenly Venerables. Heavenly Venerables' North Peak's face turned pale. He quickly dodged to the side. This spear not only killed the fire attribute Heavenly Venerables, but it also brought a strong sense of death to him. He really wanted to save his companion, but the disparity in strength was too great. It was simply a one-sided beating. Tianyan twisted, and the fire attribute Heavenly Venerables was immediately torn into countless pieces. Successfully killed Heavenly Venerables Crimson Light. Reward: 95,000 compressed EXP, 1,600 compressed Crazy Point, 1,300 SPS. Reward: Crimson Light Spiritual Treasure, Crimson Light Divine Art, 5,000 compressed EXP and Divine Pill. Reward: 20,000 compressed EXP for killing above level. Compressed Divine Pill. Tianyan felt a bit speechless about this reward. Although it was not bad, the overall difference was too big. Immediately, his eyes turned to the last remaining Heavenly Venerables, Heavenly Venerables North Peak. Out of the 4 elders, he was the only one left. He had to admit that this was really tragic. They didn't destroy any planets, nor did they kill any powerhouses from the 3 realms God realm, and they already lost 4 of their elders. Chapter 1382. Are all the divine lords of the 3 realms divine realm this strong? Heavenly Venerable North Peak began to doubt his life. How could the divine lords here be so strong? Otherwise they could hide their auras. But that was not right. He did not sense any heavenly venerable power. It was the orthodox power of the heavenly Tao. It was precisely because of this that he began to doubt his judgment. It was normal to hide one's aura when walking, but to hide one's aura in battle? Hence, he felt that the other party's cultivation level was truly at the Divine Lord level, just as he felt. But even at the Divine Lord level, the other party could erupt with power that he could not hope to match. Not bad. All the Divine Lords of the 3 realms Divine Realm are this strong. Tianyan teased as he approached Heavenly Venerable North Peak step by step. He looked at him and said, I never expected the Sacred Peak Divine Realm to give me face by sending for Heavenly Venerables. I wonder if they will send other powerful Heavenly Venerables? I'm looking forward to it. The more the better. Heavenly Venerable North Peak's expression changed. If more Heavenly Venerables came, the outcome would be the same as before. They would all be easily killed. Everything happened too quickly, so quickly that he had no way to defend himself. Now he was in despair. If he did not send the message back, no one would know about the situation here. If he did not return for too long, he would definitely be judged dead. If they still sent people over, they would fall for it. Run! Heavenly Venerable North Peak did not know when a bead had appeared. He crushed it and the bead immediately wrapped around him, instantly disappearing from his spot. This was an escape bead. As long as he used it, he could easily escape. It was similar to teleportation, allowing him to escape to a faraway place. The problem was that the location was random. It was unknown where he would escape to. Swoosh! The next moment, he appeared in a certain region of the 3 realms Divine Realm. He did not know where he had escaped to, but he was certain that he had escaped very far. This escape bead was much faster than tearing through space to escape. Tearing through space required some time. If the difference in cultivation was huge, this amount of time would not be long. However, against someone much stronger than him, it would take a long time. Hurry up and spread the news. There's a Divine Lord here that's comparable to a Middle Heavenly Venerate. Furthermore, he appears and disappears unpredictably. Heavenly Venerate North Peak quickly took out his communication jade pendant, hoping to spread the news. When he poured his spiritual sense into it and was about to crush it, a cold light streaked over and cut off his arm. You want to send a message? Did you ask for my permission? A ghostly voice came from behind. Heavenly Venerable North Peak ignored the pain and quickly dodged to the side. What he saw was still that familiar figure, scaring him out of his wits. Why would I appear here? I've already used the escape god pearl. Without any hesitation, he quickly took out another escaped divine pearl with his remaining arm. Just as he was about to crush it, a ray of cold light came from behind him and chopped off his other arm. Now he didn't even have a hand. If he wanted to be reborn, he would need some time to quickly recover. I already said, did you ask me if you wanted to send a message? Etianyan reached out and stabbed. The stellar divine spear pierced through Heavenly Venerable North Peak's body and nailed him in the void. The 5 elemental core's energy surged out and suppressed his strength, preventing him from escaping. Heavenly Venerable North Peak's heart was dead. He didn't expect that he wouldn't even have a chance to escape. He had even used the Escape God Pearl. This thing was a one-time use item, and its price was equivalent to a high-grade Heavenly Dao treasure. How could he not feel the pinch? Heavenly Venerates basically all had Heavenly Venerate spirit treasures. However, with his cultivation, he could only have one Heavenly Venerate spirit treasure. Sometimes he still had to rely on Heavenly Dao treasures. Otherwise, there would be nothing else he could use. Kill me. I'll accept my fate. Heavenly Venerable North Peak's gaze was resolute. At this point, he could only accept his fate. However, he looked coldly at Etianyan and said, however, don't think that our sacred peak divine realm only has this bit of power. When the divine realm war begins, your divine realm will definitely be destroyed. After the divine realm war began, the entire divine realm would fall into chaos. It would be normal for some forces to be destroyed. Do you know why I spared your life? Etianyan looked at him and smiled. Because I want you to send a message. If you don't, how can I send a message about my situation? Send a message? Heavenly Venerable North Peak was stunned. He had wanted to send a message before, but Etianyan had interrupted him. Now he was the one to send a message? Immediately, Etianyan took out a communication divine stone from Heavenly Venerable North Peak's body and placed it on his head. You can send a message now. It's best if you say that I was ambushed. I did ambush you. Ambush? Heavenly Venerable North Peak subconsciously asked, but his voice had already entered the communication divine stone. Not only could this communication divine stone record spiritual sense memories, but it could also record voices. As he said this, Etianyan suddenly smashed the communication divine stone on his head. With a loud bang, the communication divine stone broke and the message was rapidly transmitted. It's done. That's right, it was a sneak attack. Etianyan was very satisfied. I didn't use my strongest strength to defeat you. I used a sneak attack to suppress you. It has nothing to do with strength. You. Heavenly Venerable North Peak's eyes widened. He finally knew why Etianyan didn't want him to send a message. He wanted to send a message that there was a heaven-defying divine lord here, at least at the middle Heavenly Venerable level. Moreover, this divine lord could appear and disappear unpredictably with all sorts of abilities, thus achieving a suppressive effect. Now, Etianyan only needed him to send a message that it was a sneak attack. This way, the other party wouldn't know that they were in an unknown situation. This way they would think that it was a sneak attack. They would be more cautious and continue sending powerhouses to suppress them. This was the effect that Etianyan wanted. How could he not continue harvesting? There were so many fat sheep. If he didn't harvest a portion of them, he would be letting himself down. Now that he had obtained experience, he could break through to the 6th level of Divine Lord. He wasn't far from the 7th level. However, he didn't want to level up now. After he leveled up, the reward for killing someone above his level might disappear. After all, when the gap wasn't large enough, the reward for killing someone above his level would disappear. This wasn't an outcome he wanted to see. Thank you so much for your message. I will treat the powerhouses you send well. Of course, it would be a pity if you don't send them over. Etianyan smiled at him. Heavenly Venerable North Peak was furious. If they continued sending people over and caused their deaths, it would be their responsibility. I want you dead. Chapter 1383. Successfully killed Heavenly Master North Peak, obtained 135,000 compressed EXP, 2,600 compressed Crazy Point, and 2,300 SPS. Obtained North Peak Spiritual Treasure, North Peak Divine Art, and Sacred Peak God Realm Key, opens most of the secret rooms. Obtain 30,000 compressed EXP for killing a heavenly master. All 4 Empyreans were killed, not a single one left behind. The experience and rewards obtained were extremely rich. Not only the items they dropped, but the wealth they carried was also extremely rich. This was a heavenly master, especially an elder of the Sacred Peak God Realm. It can be said that they are extremely rich. The wealth in any random person's storage ring could easily crush half of a Grade 2 God Realm cultivator. Therefore, there is no better way to earn more resources than this kind of invader. There is no need to run around, just wait for them to come. I hope they continue to send a batch of strong masters. It is best if they are stronger. Etianyan twirled the Star Divine Spear in his hand and smiled faintly. Otherwise, I really can't try to see what kind of effect can be achieved in my territory. The 4 heavenly masters were easily killed, and this made him suddenly feel confident. The originally arrogant heavenly masters can be easily crushed in front of him. Just the effect of this title is enough to crush everything. After all, in theory, the doubled power and suppressed power are equivalent to superimposing. According to the multiplication, the superimposed effect can be at least 60 to 70 times more power. This alone can be said to be invincible. If the opponent's cultivation is too high, then he will increase his cultivation, and then with a stronger foundation he can crush the opponent. After the communication Jade Pendant was released, the news quickly spread to the Sacred Peak God Realm. After reading the message, they could only hear the word sneak attack, and the voice has already stopped. Sneak attack? In the hall, everyone was dumbfounded. The 4 elders sent are all dead? A sneak attack? Are they dead or alive? No one knows. But listening to this situation, they must have encountered some kind of danger. And it is even possible that they are all dead. Everyone's face is ugly, especially the Sacred Peak God Realm Lord sitting on the throne. His face is ugly to the extreme. His behavior has affected the major evaluation. Especially the heavenly master next to him. Their smile is gone, and their face is also not looking good. Losing 4 Empyreans all at once, anyone would not be able to laugh. Especially the heavenly masters from the outer God realm, who can participate in the whole divine realm war, are gone. Even if they are alive, it is estimated that they are dead. It was possible that they were still being pursued, or they were trapped. Anything was possible. There were too few messages sent back. This kind of message with only 2 words might have been interrupted, or it might have been sealed. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been a simple message with only 2 words. With their strength, can a sneak attack work? The Sacred Peak Region Master's face was terrifyingly gloomy, and his heart was filled with anxiety. The mighty ones around him did not know what to think. Their cultivation levels might be lower than the Sacred Peak Region Lords, but they represented the thoughts of the higher-ups. This was completely different. If he were to report this to the higher-ups, he would be done for. He might even have to be replaced by someone else. We don't know if a sneak attack will work, but the situation doesn't seem too good right now. The Empyrean on the side spoke up, his complexion not looking good. If they lose the Divine Realm War, let alone the Sacred Peak Domain, they will suffer too. They have been given an important order, and are now tied to the Sacred Peak Domain, so the Sacred Peak Domain's direction is very important. Cold sweat beads on the Sacred Peak Domain Master's forehead. He can tell that these heavenly masters are not happy. Who can be happy in such a situation? Elders, there should be no problem, as long as we send people to investigate. We will be very careful this time, and send more powerhouses to investigate and figure out what is going on. The Sacred Peak Domain Master said solemnly. Who knows, it might be the Myriad Heaven Domain behind this. The sacred realm of the 3 realms might be created by the Myriad Heaven Domain. A first-grade god realm, to be able to keep the 4 elders, must have a backer. This backer might be the Myriad Heaven Domain. If it is not at the level of the Myriad Heaven Domain, they really can't think of any force that can stop them. The Myriad Heaven Domain? Everyone looked at each other before they slowly nodded their heads, indicating that they agreed with this conjecture. If it really is the Myriad Heaven Domain, this is not an easy matter to solve. We must not attack rashly. First send some people who are good at gathering information. It is best to sneak in and investigate thoroughly. That is the key. One of the middle-level heavenly venerables analyzed calmly. Not attack directly? The sacred peak domain master is extremely hot-tempered. The 4 elders are trapped there, and it is unknown if they are dead or alive. Why not send people to rescue them immediately? What if it is a trap? The heavenly venerate looked at him coldly and said, the opponent might be the myriad heaven domain. The support they have will not be any less than yours. As for the 4 of them, let's not care about them for now. First send people to investigate the background of this first-grade god realm. Yes. The sacred peak domain master could only choose to agree. He had no right to refuse, he was just a pawn. Immediately, they began to send out spies to search for information, including the divine emperor Yu Qin. The experts they sent out were all divine monarchs, even Lord of Heaven level. They were sneaking in to gather information, not to kill anyone. It was just that the original radical method was changed to scouting. But this decision immediately allowed the heavenly venerables who were supposed to be killed to escape. In the meantime, Yi Tianyan stayed in the sacred realm of the 3 realms, waiting for the sacred peak domain's revenge. But after waiting for a while, he did not see the sacred peak domain's revenge. Instead, he sensed many unfamiliar cultivators with lower cultivation levels entering. There is another acquaintance? Yi Tianyan's figure flashed, and he disappeared on the spot. At the edge of the sacred realm of the 3 realms, the divine emperor Yu Qin had really broken through to divine monarch, but his cultivation level was still relatively low. Reaching level 1 god monarch meant that he had just broken through not long ago. Sacred realm of the 3 realms. What is this new sacred realm? Where did it come from? She was quite interested that the divine emperor Yu Qin had been sent here. Anyway, she did not want to stay in the sacred peak domain, so it was not a bad idea to come out and get some fresh air. Not much of a background. A voice came from the side, giving the divine emperor Yu Qin a fright. He looked to the side cautiously and realized that it was someone he knew. Why are you here? The divine emperor Yu Qin was shocked. Chapter 1384. Your territory? The divine emperor Yu Qin quickly caught on to the words. If this was Yi Tianyan's territory, then wouldn't this be Yi Tianyan's territory? She suddenly remembered that according to the outside world, the ruler of this place was called the Heavenly Cloud Ruler. Combined with Yi Tianyan's name, wouldn't it be him? Yes, this is my territory. Did the Saint Peak God Realm send you here to investigate the situation here? Yi Tianyan smiled, not showing any hostility. He already knew the divine emperor Yu Qin's identity, and the divine emperor Yu Qin had told him frankly, so there was no problem. The divine emperor Yu Qin looked at Yi Tianyan from head to toe, as if he had seen a ghost, and said in shock, "Are you really the Heavenly Cloud Ruler? The Heavenly Cloud Ruler, who was the talk of the town before? When I first heard about it, I thought it was someone with the same name. I didn't expect it to be you." "Really? Am I that famous?" Yi Tianyan said with a faint smile. "Of course you're famous, especially when the 4 of us elders came here without any news. This made us wonder if the 3rd realm God Realm had joined forces with the All Heavens God Realm." The divine emperor Yu Qin said doubtfully. "That's a good idea." Yi Tianyan rubbed his chin. It seemed that they really did make the connection. They thought that the 1st grade God Realm's strength was not enough, and that the 3rd grade God Realm must be behind it. Then what happened to the 4 elders? Are they dead or alive? The divine emperor Yu Qin asked. "They are already dead." Yi Tianyan shrugged and added, "I killed them." "You killed them?" The divine emperor Yu Qin's eyes were dull. He would never have thought that it was Yi Tianyan who killed them. It was too inconceivable for him. "Yes, I was the one who killed him. You won't send this news back, right?" Yi Tianyan said with a smile. "I won't. It's a pity that the great elder didn't come. Otherwise, I would be free if you killed me." The divine emperor Yu Qin's eyes lit up as he asked, "Speaking of which, how did you do it? Did you team up with the other celestial lords, or did you use some sort of trap? For Empyreans all dead." She believed that he was dead, but she didn't quite believe that it was Yi Tianyan who killed him. Since they were killed in his territory, it could be said that Yi Tianyan had killed them. "Didn't I say that I killed him?" Tianyan shrugged helplessly. How is that possible? Aren't you only at the Divine Monarch realm now? No, that's not right. Aren't you breaking through too quickly? The Divine Emperor Yu Qin carefully probed, and discovered that Tianyan's cultivation level was already that of a Divine Lord, far surpassing his own. You won't believe me even if I tell you, so what can I do? Tianyan smiled faintly and said, Anyway, I killed them. What kind of powerhouses do you think a first-grade divine realm can have? As for joining forces with the myriad heavens divine realm, that's simply nonsense. They're already too busy with their own matters, so why would they join forces with me? But, the Divine Emperor Yu Qin didn't know what to say for a moment. This news was too shocking for him. No buts. Now that you've planted this group of people, you want to investigate my forces, right? Tianyan had already sensed that unfamiliar cultivators had entered. After he obtained the special title, he could easily sense everything. There was nothing that he couldn't sense. As long as a stranger entered, he would immediately know. Don't try to escape his detection, as he could easily sense them. Yes, the 4 elders didn't come back, so they didn't dare to continue sending powerhouses, so they could only send us scouts. The Divine Emperor Yu Qin sighed and said, What a pity. If the Great Elder was killed by you, then everyone would be happy. Her eyes were filled with pity. If she could solve this problem, she would be completely free. She was controlled by the Great Elder. If the Great Elder didn't die, she naturally wouldn't be free. She still had to abide by the previous oath. Tianyan's eyes turned, and he smiled and said, I have a good idea. If you can get the Great Elder of the St. Peak Divine Realm to come here, I can help you deal with him. At that time, you'll be free. Are you serious? The Divine Emperor Yu Qin hated the St. Peak Divine Realm to the extreme. However, she had an oath, so she couldn't resist. Of course, it depends on how you lure them here. Tianyan smiled faintly. The Divine Emperor Yu Qin thought for a while, and said, That's not a problem. It's not difficult to lure them here, but you need to get rid of the other scouts. Otherwise, it won't be easy. That's simple. Wait here for a while. Tianyan's figure quickly disappeared. The Divine Emperor Yu Qin was stunned. He didn't know how Tianyan disappeared. Although she was puzzled, she didn't leave and waited at the side. After a while, Tianyan reappeared in front of the Divine Emperor Yu Qin. He threw a few storage rings and said, These are their belongings. I've dealt with them. What? The Divine Emperor Yu Qin was dumbfounded. He took the storage rings and quickly checked them. He found that they were really their belongings. Not a single one was missing. All of them had been dealt with. These scouts being dealt with was actually nothing to be shocked about. The problem was that they were scattered in different areas. If he wanted to deal with them, he would have to search them one by one. Now Tianyan had dealt with all of them in a short while. It was extremely easy. How is it? Now that they've been dealt with, it should be easier to do things, right? Tianyan smiled faintly and said, It's best to lure more experts over so that I can deal with them all together. The Divine Emperor Yu Qin still hadn't recovered from the shock. He slowly raised his head and said, How did you do it? Is it a special teleportation secret technique? You can say that. Tianyan looked at her and said, Speaking of which, if you go back, won't they check your memories or interrogate you? That's not a problem. The oath I made is not a slave's oath, so I still have some freedom. As long as I disguise myself a little, they won't suspect anything, the Divine Emperor Yu Qin said with a smile. Besides, even if they interrogate me, what can they get out of me? Tianyan was stunned. Thinking about it, it made sense. The Divine Emperor Yu Qin didn't ask too many questions from beginning to end. He was just shocked by his strength. Even if he was interrogated, he could only say that Tianyan was stronger. However, the Divine Emperor Yu Qin was in trouble. He was probably going to die. Since you are so confident, I'll leave it to you. Tianyan nodded and said, Oh right, if I succeed in luring them over and you help me deal with them, can I make a request? The Divine Emperor Yu Qin said with a mysterious smile. Make a request? I've already returned your freedom. Forget it. Tell me what you want. Tianyan said after thinking for a while. Chapter 1385. That simple. Tianyan was stunned. He didn't expect the other party to make such a request. Not only did he agree, but he was basically welcoming her to join. Now that they were short of manpower, and in addition, they were filled with hatred towards the sacred peak celestial realm. The more who joined, the better. In addition, if she successfully lured them over, it would be equivalent to a great merit. Although it was equivalent to mutual benefit, overall speaking, it would still be a great help to him. Lured over the remaining elders, and then ruthlessly eradicated them. It was equivalent to eradicating the internal elders of the sacred peak celestial realm. At that time, it was equivalent to chopping off both arms. The battle of the celestial realm would be fun. It's that simple. Are you willing to take me in? The Divine Emperor Yu Qin's beautiful eyes flickered. She was very much looking forward to Tianyan accepting her. Needless to say, you're very welcome, Tianyan said with a smile. All right then, wait for my good news. The Divine Emperor Yu Qin smiled at him, turned around and flew back. Looking at her departing figure, Tianyan smiled knowingly. He wasn't the slightest bit worried that the Divine Emperor Yu Qin would betray him. He originally hated the sacred peak celestial realm. How could he possibly betray him? The rest would have to depend on her ability to deceive them. Acting in front of so many celestial venerables was not a simple matter. It's almost time. Sister Lioli and the rest are preparing to arrive. It had been some time since the transfer. Logically speaking, they should be arriving soon. As expected, very soon several planets were finally transferred to the Three Realms celestial realm. The appearance of several giant planets immediately alerted the surrounding guards. Oh my God, what did I see? Several giant planets are flying over here? Oh my God, hurry up and inform the elders. These fellows are coming with ill intentions. They're definitely not good people. Alert, alert. Everyone on alert. Prepare to resist these invaders. Many guards got busy one by one, preparing to activate various defensive arrays to resist these behemoths. The Three Realms celestial realm was now in the stage where the doors were wide open. It felt like there were no walls. Unlike those complete celestial realms, which could only be entered through passageways. It would take a lot of effort to create these passageways. Elder Gu and the others had suggested that they should do it now. Tianyan had told them not to do it. So he left the door wide open and allowed them to come in freely. The main reason was that he had a title. Also, he was going to participate in the Battle of the Divine Realms. Very soon, he would be going to the inner Divine Realm. Moreover, it would take many years to create it. If Elder Gu and the rest put in all their effort, they would need at least a few thousand years to set it up. Creating these tunnels was not an easy task, and it required a lot of effort. Don't be so nervous, these are our allies. Tianyan's figure appeared next to the guards and said, Heavenly Cloud Domain Lord. Yes. We understand. We will inform the guards to lift the alert now. When the guard saw Tianyan, he immediately changed the alert without saying anything. Tianyan followed Tianyan and flew to the glazed Domain Lord's side. Tianyan smiled and said, You are finally here. It could be seen that they all had traces of battle. A little. When we passed through a few areas, we encountered a large number of demonic beasts. We could only fight. Region Master Glaze and the others felt very helpless. They hadn't been so busy for a long time. The rest of the elders were even more exhausted. How could it not be tiring to fend off the endless waves of demonic beasts? The speed of such a huge planet wasn't fast. Even if the planet's defenses were perfect, it wouldn't be able to withstand continuous attacks. They could only obediently kill these demonic beasts. The journey had been exhausting, but he couldn't stop. Otherwise, it would be troublesome if they caught up. It's good that you're here. I'll arrange a place for you near the center. It'll be safer there, said Tianyan with a smile. Safer. The elders and deacons exchanged glances with one another. They did not agree with the suggestion. How safe could a grade 1 god domain be? Especially a brand new god domain. It would definitely not be perfect in all aspects. However, they couldn't say it out loud. After all, they had come to someone else's territory, so they had to keep a low profile. However, when they passed by the warning planet, They saw that the planet had begun to put away the defense arrays one by one, and even put down some offensive arrays. They all widened their eyes. This is a grade 4 divine seal. That offensive divine seal is close to a grade 5 divine seal? This is too exaggerated. How could such a small planet have so many divine arrays? This is too wasteful, isn't it? There are also mobile divine arrays. They are all inside. Elder Go Huang and the others were stunned. These powerful divine seals were engraved on an inconspicuous planet, which was simply a waste. Only these few important planets had such precious divine seals. Most importantly, grade 4 divine seals were extremely rare, and most of them were grade 3 divine seals. Such a small planet even had a grade 5 divine seal. How could they not be shocked? Tianyin Territorial Lord, isn't this too wasteful? Even if you want to engrave them, you should only engrave them on the important planets. Could it be that they were already there? Elder Go Huang and the others looked as if they had just lost money. They felt that it was a waste. No, I asked my men to engrave them on the planet. Tianyin smiled and said, however, these are relatively ordinary divine seals. The closer we get to the planet, the more powerful divine seals there are. To put it bluntly, because this planet is too small, there are fewer divine seals engraved on it. It can be considered the worst planet. The trashiest one? They sucked in a breath of cold air. Their eyes were filled with fear and shock. This was already a level better than the best they had, and they were told that it was the worst planet? It felt like an ordinary person using a grade 2 elixir was an extravagant existence. Now they met someone who said that grade 2 elixir was used in their house to water the flowers. The things they were so proud of were the worst here. Originally, they were a little dissatisfied with joining a grade 1 god realm, but now it was replaced by a sense of inferiority. Seeing their expressions, Tianyin smiled in his heart. In fact, these words were exaggerated. This was not the worst planet. There were other trashy ones, but this was indeed not the best. He just wanted to crush their self-esteem. Don't think that a grade 1 god realm was inferior to a grade 2 god realm. It depended on whose god realm it was. Chapter 1386. As they followed the planets they passed, they could see the activation of some array formations. On the surface, it was to check the effectiveness of the array formations, but in reality, this was what Tianyin had asked them to do. It was so that Elder Go Huang and the others could clearly see the array formations here. What second-grade God Realm foundation? It was trash here. It was perfect in all aspects. Even if a heavenly venerable attacked, it could defend for a period of time. Could their planets withstand the fierce attack of a heavenly venerable? The answer was no. At most, their defenses would be broken in 2 or 3 attacks. It was extremely easy. On the other hand, there was a sharp contrast here. It could be said that they were completely oppressed. They had fewer powerhouses, but just in terms of array formations, they had a huge lead. That's a 4th grade divine seal. There's a quasi 5th grade divine seal over there. Heavens, they really have high grade divine seals. How did they do it? How many resources did they spend? What kind of people did they hire to help? Among their native powerhouses, there were no such high-level existences. There were some who were slightly weaker, but there were none who were too powerful. Hence, the gap between them was extremely strong. There's no need to hire people for this. My faction has people with the corresponding abilities. It's not difficult to carve these arrays. This was not nonsense. The divine spirit race had extremely high attainments in this aspect. Carving these array formations required some effort. In addition, they were on the same side, so there was no need for additional remuneration. If they wanted to do it, the remuneration for hiring people would be extremely high. For example, carving a decent movement array required several heavenly Dao treasures. This was only the remuneration for the movement array. There were still other array formations that required a shocking amount of remuneration. Although they could afford it, they would definitely not be like Tianyin, who would carve arrays on every planet. This was someone being willful. In any case, the divine spirit race had nothing to do here, so they just treated it as cultivation and carve arrays on these planets. You have such geniuses? They gasped, their eyes filled with shock. They had thought that Tianyin was rich and imposing and had hired people from other places. Now it seemed that they had been too naive. They were all on the same side, so there was no need to hire others. This made them even more surprised. Just how did he do it? The heavenly spring divine realm had been established for such a long time, but they had never obtained so many top geniuses. Tianyin had been their disciple before, but now, he had become a region lord. Not only was his strength heaven-defying, his influence was equally heaven-defying. Yes, but we are still in urgent need of talents in some areas. Tianyin smiled and said, for example, alchemists and blacksmiths. It just so happens that your addition can fill in the gaps in this area. This was indeed the case. Even if he had a lot of resources, it would be difficult to train them in a short period of time. Not everyone could have a system like him. Only then did they heave a sigh of relief. If they were suppressed in everything, they really wouldn't be able to show their faces here. At that time, they would just be eating rice without doing anything. On the contrary, the colored glaze region master's eyes lit up full of surprise and she said, no wonder you said you wanted to join your force. Now it seems that just these things alone have surpassed us by a large margin. The words of the glazed region master made the elders feel embarrassed. They had been a little repulsed before, but now they didn't feel the slightest bit repulsed. On the contrary, they had to hide here for a while because of them. It's okay, it will be stronger in the future. Tianyin smiled and said. They looked at each other in dismay. Could he be even stronger? For them, this was already as difficult as ascending to the sky. Soon they quickly flew to the center and arrived at the central area. In fact, there was nothing special here. It was just a little closer to the three realms. In terms of safety, this was indeed the safest place. This is almost the place. I hope we can have a pleasant cooperation during this period of time. Tianyin smiled and said, a pleasant cooperation. They nodded quickly. Tianyin Region Lord, what do you need us to do? Colored Glaze Region Master asked next to him. Don't worry. Soon someone will assign relevant tasks to you. Is it okay for us to arrange this? Tianyin asked. This is not a problem. We are here. If we don't explain it, we don't know what we can share. Naturally, Colored Glaze Region Master didn't have any objections. The other party had shown strength that convinced them, so they naturally chose to obey. Well, no problem. Later I will introduce you to the main people here. At the same time, I will arrange for people to come and strengthen your great array, so that it can resist the attacks of celestial masters. Tianyin said with a smile. We will strengthen it here? The elders were speechless. They were immediately shocked by Tianyin's generosity. Of course. You have joined us, so naturally, you will see us as one and help each other. As for other affairs, we will not interfere in the management. You will manage them yourselves. Tianyin used the same method again. He had just joined, so he couldn't interfere at will. This could easily cause conflicts, so it was best to manage them separately. However, gradually they would be assimilated, just like the previous forces. Tianyin was not in a hurry at all. He would take it step by step, and when the time came he would successfully join them. Good. The elders' eyes lit up. They thought that he would interfere in the management, but now it seemed that they had thought too much. Soon, Shuiyun and the others came over one after another. All of them were heroines among women, and they landed at the side with extraordinary aura. This is my wife, this is the managing elder, this is... Tianyin introduced them one by one, and they were all stunned. All of them were women in charge? This was unbelievable to them. Most of them were men in charge. Colored Glaze Region Master was able to be in charge because she was strong enough. What about all of them? Were they really that strong? Hello, I am Tianyin's wife. I am glad that all of you can join us. Shuiyun walked over in a natural and unrestrained manner. She didn't feel any pressure because of their cultivation. This was a kind of confidence. Shuiyun's cultivation was at the Earth Monarch realm. She was much weaker than them, but from her aura, she wasn't weak. Seems like this is my sister-in-law. I am Colored Glaze Region Master. You can just call me Sister Colored Glaze in the future. Colored Glaze Region Master walked over and grabbed Shirshuayun's small hand with an amiable expression. Elder Go Huang and the other's eyes almost popped out. Colored Glaze Region Master was actually so amiable. Chapter 1387. Sister Luli. Shirshuayun smiled sweetly and glanced at Tianyun. Not bad, not bad. The wife chosen by Brother Tianyun is different. Her physique is similar to mine, so we can cultivate together. Luli Region Lord had a water attribute physique, and Shirshuayun also had an ice attribute physique. Both of them were similar in nature. Okay, Sister Luli. Shirshuayun's eyes lit up. She knew Luli Region Lord's ability. It was definitely a good thing for her to cultivate with an expert with a similar attribute. They quickly became familiar with each other. After introducing each other, they knew each other's position. If there was any problem, they could go to them. However, no matter how Elder Go Huang and the others looked at it, they were unable to tell anything. All they felt was that the other party's cultivation was too low. This was a very normal way of judging. When they first met, the most intuitive thing was their cultivation. If their cultivation was too low, they wouldn't treat them as friends, let alone pay attention to them. Strength was always the most important, so it wasn't that they looked down on others. Their first impression was like this, but it would depend on their performance later. However, with Tianyun present, they wouldn't say anything and would negotiate with them. They just felt a little awkward. They had never discussed things with someone who was so much lower than them. The gap was too big and the generation gap was even bigger. Then let's start discussing the relationship of cooperation. When you come to us, the first thing is to be loyal enough. Also, in completing the task, you have to follow our situation. We won't impose any conditions. If you want to do the task, then do it. If you don't want to do it, then don't do it. Iyue stood up and began to talk a lot, listing out the details of the situation. They didn't enter any conference room. They just discussed things here. They were swift and decisive, not wasting any time. This was their style of doing things. It had always been like this, and it had never changed. Elder Go Huang and the others frowned. They felt that it was a little inappropriate to discuss things here, but because of Tianyun, they listened here. Who knew that the more they listened, the more surprised they became. What they said was quite well planned. Inside and out, it was perfectly planned, almost impeccable. Everything was arranged very reasonably. Even they might not be able to arrange it so perfectly. The key was that it was fair enough. It didn't make things difficult for them at all, and it discussed from both sides' perspectives. After saying that, they realized that they didn't even have a chance to refute. Everything was impeccable. This meant that all they had to do was nod their heads and agree to do it. Moreover, they wouldn't feel the slightest bit unconvinced. That's about it. Is there anything else you'd like to add? Iyue and the others stood in front of everyone, showing no fear at all. They knew how powerful the other party's cultivation was, and they also knew that they were Grade 2 God realms. When they came to the divine domain, it was the same as entering a whole new world. After learning many things, they discovered how insignificant they were, and that there were still many things they needed to do. Therefore, he worked even harder and trained even harder. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to keep up with Tianyun's footsteps. But even so, he still couldn't keep up. Now that both sides were discussing something, they knew that their opportunity had come. They definitely could not fall into a disadvantageous position. And it was also time for them to display their strength. Their cultivation was weak, but that didn't mean they couldn't help. Now they were rendered speechless. None of them knew what to say. No, there's nothing to add. Elder Go Huang smacked his lips. If all the discussions in the future were like this, they could basically make a decision right away. There was no need to argue or waste any time. Since there's nothing to add, then elders, you can make your own arrangements. If there's anything, you can discuss it with them. Their opinions are the same as mine. Tianyun nodded with a smile, as if he had completely relinquished his authority to them. Tianyun was well aware of their efficiency and style. He had always been at ease with them. It was all thanks to them that the Three Realms God realm could undergo such earth-shattering changes in such a short period of time. Their cultivation wasn't the highest, but planning was definitely their forte. Then they retreated one by one to busy themselves with their own matters. Since they had just arrived, there were still many things to do. For example, the things that they had just discussed had to be done. Region Mistress Glaze also followed them back to busy herself with her own matters. After they left, the women let out a deep breath and were completely relieved. It's finally over. The pressure was really great. That's right. The difference in cultivation, just the aura that they subconsciously revealed, gave people a lot of pressure. Fortunately, they didn't say much. I thought they would refute. They all sighed, thinking that they would be scolded for a long time, or that all their plans would be rejected. Don't worry, you did very well. It was very perfect. Tianyan gave them a thumbs up and said, and it was quite imposing. You don't have to be afraid of anything. Don't you have me? But even so, I'm still worried. I'm afraid that it won't be a good start. Yue and the others rolled their eyes. Only they knew the pressure. There was a huge difference in their overall strength. If they were at a disadvantage, it wouldn't be easy to manage. You must have confidence in yourselves. You've been doing very well. Compared to the management of those god realms, it's much better. Tianyan thought for a moment, then added, even an ordinary rank 3 god realm can't compare to your management. That exaggerated? They were speechless. They knew how strong a rank 3 god realm was, but if they were compared, it would be too exaggerated. That's the truth. Don't think it's exaggerated. Tianyan smiled and said, compared to most god realms really. So don't feel inferior. Although your cultivation is inferior, your overall cultivation time is much shorter than theirs. Sooner or later, we will surpass them by a large margin. Yes. The women nodded, their beautiful eyes filled with excitement. Receiving Tianyan's encouragement was more important than anything else. While they were busy, Shuiyan came over and pinched him hard. She rolled her eyes and said, you even have an older sister. Looks like your relationship isn't shallow? Ahem, it's just SOSO. We went to train together, and after a few battles, our relationship gradually improved. Tianyan said awkwardly. Humph. Shuiyan rubbed the place where he was pinched and said with a smile. Forget it, I won't tease you anymore. Let's get busy. I believe that we will soon surpass those rank 2 god realms, maybe even rank 3 god realms. Chapter 1388. Shuiyan quickly went about her own business. Due to the merger of the two forces, there were many things that needed to be done. Tianyan was the most relaxed among them, but it was only temporary. All he needed to do now was wait for the Divine Emperor Yuqin to come with the first elder, and then he would eliminate them. Ding. Successfully let the second-grade sacred land join your force. Obtained 1,000 points of compressed experience, and 1,000 points of compressed proficiency. At the same time, I am the region lord has been slightly enhanced by 5 times. There is such a reward? Tianyan was delighted. He liked this kind of reward very much. He did not expect that there would be such a special reward if a force joined him. The reward was very simple and crude. It could even enhance the effect of the title. This meant that if he continued to let other forces join him, the power of his title would continue to increase and become stronger. However, it was still relatively difficult to let other forces join him. This reminded him of the heavenly mandate realm. If they could join him, not only could he expand his current strength, but he could also enhance the power of his title. Why not? The heavenly mandate realm. But it will not be easy for them to join. Tianyan shook his head. Based on the current situation, it was unlikely that other sacred lands would choose to join him. It was better to be in charge than to listen to the orders of others. This matter could only be put aside for the time being. I wonder how the situation is on the side of the Divine Emperor Yuqin. Tianyan was most concerned about this matter. It would affect the direction of the future. Defeating most of the elders meant that the Sacred Peak Sacred Realm had lost more than half of its members. It would undoubtedly be easier to fight for it. Although there were other sacred lands, at least the Sacred Peak Sacred Realm had been severely injured. While Tianyan was worrying, the Divine Emperor Yuqin finally returned to the Sacred Peak Sacred Realm. Under the gaze of many experts, she rushed in with injuries and knelt on the ground. What's going on? When the Sacred Peak Region Master and the others saw the Divine Emperor Yuqin, they were shocked, especially the Great Elder, who stood up in shock. Sacred Peak Region Master, I came back from scouting. The rest of my companions died, and I was the only one who managed to escape. I've already found out the gist of it. The elders were captured alive and trapped in the celestial realm of the three realms. As for where they are, I'm not too sure. The experts in the celestial realm of the three realms are especially sinister. Their cultivation bases aren't very high, but they have a lot of traps. After the Divine Emperor Yuqin managed to finish his sentence, he immediately fainted. He had lost too much blood and was seriously injured. It was so serious that if it was not treated immediately, it was very likely that he would die. Carry him away for treatment. The Great Elder stood up and gestured for the guards to carry her away for treatment. Her face was extremely gloomy. The guards immediately carried the Divine Emperor Yuqin away for treatment. As for the other heavenly venerables, they didn't do much checking or soul-searching. In such a situation, they would probably be dead before their souls were searched. After the Divine Emperor Yuqin was carried away, their faces were solemn. They had already learned a lot of information from the Great Elder's words. The elders didn't die mainly because they were ambushed and trapped by the other party. Heavenly venerables were very strong, but if they were ambushed, they would still fall for it. However, it could be seen that the celestial realm of the three realms was definitely not simple. Sinister. This is too sinister. As expected, they mainly use ambushes. No wonder Heavenly Venerable North Peak's last message was about that ambush. The Great Elder's eyes were cold as he gritted his teeth. However, they are still alive. In that case, we must send reinforcements. If we don't send reinforcements, they will either be killed after a while, or be used as a bargaining chip to exchange for something with us. Heavenly Venerable Nanming is right. It's very likely that they will be used as a bargaining chip to force us to give up on the Celestial Realm battle. Instead of waiting here, we might as well take the initiative to attack. Even if the Myriad Heaven Celestial Realm is the mastermind, we have to fight them. Another Heavenly Venerable stood up and supported the Great Elder's words. The Sacred Peak Domain Master's face was gloomy. This was not a simple matter. It depended on what the Heavenly Venerables from the Celestial Realm had to say. Senior brothers, how should we decide? The Sacred Peak Domain Master asked. If they are still alive, we should indeed send reinforcements. If we miss this opportunity, we will really be threatened. However, even if we are threatened, withdrawing from the Celestial Realm battle is impossible. One of the Heavenly Venerables thought for a moment before saying, "Looks like we have to personally go. Even if we lose some of our providence, we have to rescue them. At the same time, we will destroy the Celestial Realm of the three realms, and let the other Celestial Realms witness the power of the Sacred Peak Domain." "Sir, we mustn't do that," Heavenly Venerable Nanming hurriedly advised. Providence is very important, especially when it determines the core of the token. If we don't have enough providence, it will be very far away from us. It will be more difficult to seize it. The involvement of the Celestial Realm would indeed affect providence. It was not a problem to help occasionally, but if they helped too much, it would really be troublesome. In particular, the location where the token core would appear might be very far away from them. This was not nonsense. Such a situation had really happened. "Oh, so you are saying that you plan to go there yourselves?" The Heavenly Venerable frowned and glanced at them. "Can you do it?" "We were careless before, but it's different this time. We will be well prepared. At the same time, we will bring 5 Heavenly Venerables, and I will personally lead the team. As long as we are not careless, we will definitely be able to take it down." Heavenly Venerable Nanming had deduced this from the words of the Divine Emperor Yuqin. Everything had been careless, and the other party's overall cultivation was not strong. He did not suspect anything. They were already injured to this extent, and they had made an oath with him. Moreover, it had nothing to do with the Celestial Realm of the three realms, so it was impossible for them to lie to him. "All right then. I hope there are no more mistakes. This is a critical matter. The heavenly venerable said coldly. We will definitely do it well. If we fail, I will bring my head to see you. Heavenly Venerable Nanming made a military pledge. In his opinion, it would definitely work. As long as they were not ambushed, what was there to be afraid of? They would definitely be well prepared this time before they set off. They would not be ambushed. Soon they sent out 5 heavenly venerables. After a period of time, the divine Emperor Yuqin woke up. His body was extremely weak. 5 heavenly venerables. I hope you can create a miracle this time. This is as far as I can help. The divine Emperor Yuqin was harming himself to gain the confidence of others. He had severely injured his body and returned in a near-death state, so that his soul would not be searched. Chapter 1389. With Celestial Venerable South Deep personally leading the team, they rapidly flew towards the 3 realms' divine realm. They were as fast as they could go, and it could be said that they had reached their limits. Right now, their hearts were filled with anger, especially when they thought about how their elder had been captured. They wanted to save him even more. Not only did he want to make amends, but he also wanted to wash away the humiliation. They did not seem to have made any mistakes, but the failure of the mission was equivalent to the failure of the sacred peak god territory, and it could easily affect various evaluations. A bunch of ultimate gods from the inner divine domain were keeping an eye on them. If things went wrong here and they chose to retreat, they would all be doomed. The sacred peak celestial territory seemed to have many celestial territories to assist them, but in fact, they had accumulated all of them. Otherwise, they wouldn't have so many heavenly venerables. Empyreans were not cabbages that could be found anywhere. It was already very shocking for a grade 3 god realm to have 3 or 4 heavenly venerables. Now that they had gathered together, there were as many as a dozen Empyreans. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been so many. Since they had been working together for a long time, their relationship was very good, and there were no major problems. Only then would they be able to head to the inner god's domain together after obtaining the token's core. Up ahead is the divine realm of the 3 realms. This time we have to be more vigilant. Don't take the initiative to attack. Focus on defense. He had to observe everything here clearly, as well as identify the traps before deciding whether or not to forcefully attack. The most important thing is to save him. Empyrean Southern Nether, and the others immediately took out their Empyrean spirit treasures, and strengthened their defenses to prevent themselves from being ambushed. They didn't know what kind of sneak attack was so terrifying. In short, they had to be careful and not repeat the same mistake. Soon, they entered the god realm of the 3 realms, and everything went according to plan. In the 3 realms, Etiennen's eyes snapped open, and 2 beams of light shot out of them. They're finally here. The divine Emperor Yuqin really didn't disappoint me. He brought over 5 celestial paragons and even more. Overall, it's quite acceptable. Etienne was very satisfied. This amount was not too much, not too little. Everything was within his control. Moreover, this was his territory. Even if it was a little more, he could bear it. Crazy damage mode, activate. Kuimping bloodline, activate. Divine Dragon bloodline, activate. Phoenix bloodline, open. Every single mode was unleashed to the fullest. Violent energy was condensed in his hands, and he was long prepared to kill. Facing 5 people, he had to be cautious to avoid any accidents. Especially when dealing with them, he could directly kill them with a single strike, saving time and energy. The reason why he hadn't used it earlier was because he wanted to see if he could deal with them while using his title. He already had the answer from before. Now he was like a tiger hunting a rabbit, using all his strength. Xiao. Etienne disappeared from where he was. In another place, the 5 of them carefully observed the surroundings. Their spiritual senses were almost activated to the maximum, covering a large area in all directions. This is the divine realm of the 3 realms? There doesn't seem to be any problem. There's no sense of danger. There's a planet that's relatively large and well-guarded, but there aren't any experts there. It looks like the security is quite tight. I don't feel like there's a sneak attack. Strange, isn't it easy to be ambushed here? Could it be that it's not in this area? They came in to investigate for a while, but they didn't find any dangerous areas. Everything seemed normal. It didn't seem to be much different from an ordinary first-grade divine realm. It might not be in this area, but another area. Who knows? No matter what, we have to be vigilant. Empyrean Southern Ming was very vigilant, not daring to relax at all. With the previous example, they didn't dare to relax no matter what. Once they relaxed, they might suffer a sneak attack. Even if it looks safe now, they couldn't relax at all. The other Empyreans were a little relaxed instead. There didn't seem to be any problems in an area, so they shouldn't be so vigilant. But even if they relaxed, they were still vigilant of their surroundings and quickly moved forward. Just when they thought that everything was safe and sound and wondered if they had been fooled, a flash of light suddenly piercing through one of the Empyreans with lightning speed. Boom! That Empyrean exploded directly. Any Empyrean spirit treasure was useless. His protective shield was directly shattered, and he didn't even have a chance to resist. All of this wasn't over yet. Another cold light swept down, slicing another Empyrean at the waist. Then, it quickly flicked upwards, directly exploding into a cloud of blood mist. Extremely violent power. One spear killed one in one shot. After killing two in a row, it pierced through the third. The power of the 5 elements surrounded the divine spear as it continued to swing forward. Enemy attack. They were so scared that their pores opened wide. Only then did they react and quickly retreat to the side. The 5 of them gathered together and didn't split up, which led to them being killed in a row. They were too cautious and gathered together, which led to 2 being killed in a row. Now, the third was pierced by the divine spear again. He couldn't dodge at all, and he didn't even have time to defend. This power was too strong. They could already feel it when the attack came. It was simply the feeling of death. A sense of crisis of death made them not even have the feeling to resist. They could only choose to escape. Boom! The third. Another Empyrean exploded. Only then did Eteonian appear in their line of sight. In the blink of an eye, 3 Empyreans exploded. If word of this got out, it would scare people to death. How big was the gap for there to be such an effect? Divine Lord. They immediately sensed this person's cultivation, their eyes revealing horrified looks. But their hands were not slow, rapidly forming seals, wanting to carry out a counterattack. How can it be? It's actually a Divine Lord. This power is simply comparable to late-stage middle-level Empyrean level. Their hearts could not help trembling. Was this the so-called sneak attack? The key was that how was this a trap? It was completely an extremely powerful suppression, making them not even have the chance to resist. Kill. But they could only choose to toughen their scalps and attack. Empyrean spirit treasures were displayed one after another. Among them, Empyrean South Nether displayed 2 Empyrean spirit treasures. His cultivation reached early-stage middle-level Empyrean cultivation, and could condense 2 Empyrean spirit treasures. With this, they were completely forced to use all of their trump cards. How could they still dare to hide anything? If this continued, it would be a dead end. As for escaping, there was even less of a need to think about it. They could only choose to resist. The more they ran, the faster they would die instead. Risking their lives, there might still be a chance. Chapter 1390. The 2 great Empyreans resisted desperately, erupting with their strongest power. One of them brandished a sword-shaped Empyrean spirit treasure, tearing open the void and stabbing over. As for Empyrean South Deep, he was even more domineering. 2 Empyrean spirit treasures revolved around him. One of them was defensive, carrying out all-round defense. The other was similarly defensive. It could be said to be a double defense. The first was a low-rank Empyrean spirit treasure. It was considered to be tempered in order to survive in the early stages. Often, an Empyrean's first Empyrean spirit treasure was defensive. After all, even if one broke through to the Empyrean realm, it was still easy to fall into a life-and-death crisis. Thus, a defensive-type Empyrean spirit treasure was especially important. But he did not expect that Empyrean South Deep's second Empyrean spirit treasure was also defensive. He really liked to focus on defense to protect his life. However, there were also more radical ones. For example, another Empyrean used an attack-type Empyrean spirit treasure, using offense as defense. The two great Empyreans attacked Eteonyan fiercely. Their auras were like rainbows, able to shatter the void. Eteonyan completely ignored Empyrean South Deep. His figure disappeared from where he was with a flash. In the next instant, he turned into a sharp light, piercing through the back of another Empyrean. Pucci. A spear pierced in, followed by a flick directly insta-killing the other party. Without even needing a face-off, he easily insta-killed the other party. This was the advantage of using teleportation at will. He could quickly arrive behind the other party and launch a sneak attack without the other party noticing. However, this was only effective in this divine realm. In other divine realms, Eteonyan's suppression effect would disappear, allowing their strength to maintain a higher level. Originally, Empyrean South Deep could possess extremely powerful strength when he erupted. Now, what he erupted with was at most barely reaching the middle-level Empyrean standard. This kind of weakening was extremely terrifying. Here Eteonyan was a god. He could control everything. Die. After Eteonyan waved his spear, he continued to attack Empyrean South Deep fiercely without the slightest pause. In one spurt, he intercepted all the invaders. Boom boom boom. Celestial Venerable South Deep was forced to retreat again and again, completely unable to resist Eteonyan's fierce attacks. The two Celestial Venerable Spirit treasures on his body were on the verge of collapse. If he hadn't had two defense-type Empyrean Spirit treasures, he would have been instantly killed by Eteonyan. This power is too strong, and my power is being suppressed. What is going on? Celestial Venerable South Ming was about to go crazy. Everything was different from what they had agreed on. Then he thought of the Divine Emperor Yuqin's words, and his heart sank. Could it be that she was just spouting nonsense? That's impossible. Old man, don't you think it's strange? Before you die, let me make it clear to you. I killed your 4 companions a long time ago. The Divine Emperor Yuqin is my companion. I tricked you a little and you fell for it. How stupid. Eteonyan told the truth as he attacked. When Celestial Venerable Southern Ming heard this, he was immediately overcome with anger, and his aura immediately became chaotic. After knowing the truth, he especially wanted to vomit blood. The result of the error in the information was the death of 9 Celestial Venerables, including himself. No Divine Realm expert would be able to bear such a price easily. It was really too much of a blow. Bastard! Celestial Venerable Southern Ming roared angrily, and his attacks suddenly intensified. He smashed forward in a frenzy, wanting to perish together with Eteonyan. He began to frantically burn the power of the planet in his body, and his body began to collapse bit by bit. This was the effect of going all out. Now's the time. Eteonyan's eyes turned cold. Taking advantage of the moment when he was enraged, he found a gap in the defense and swung his spear over, easily piercing through the defense formed by the 2 Empyrean Spirit treasures, and directly hitting Celestial Venerable Southern Ming. He wanted to anger Celestial Venerable Southern Ming, who had been in a defensive state. Even with his current strength, it would take some time before he could break through. Now that he was angered, the other party immediately turned into an offensive state. So what if he went all out? He instantly found his weakness and swung his spear over, killing him in one blow. It's over while you're distracted. Eteonyan stared at the stiff Celestial Venerable Southern Ming and said indifferently, "Your Sacred Peak Divine Realm will definitely lose in the Divine Realm battle." "No, it's you who will lose." Celestial Venerable Southern Ming laughed in the end. "Even if he dies, he will not compromise with anyone." Eteonyan didn't say much. He swung his spear and drew a perfect end to this battle. Boom! Celestial Venerable Southern Ming's body directly exploded, turning into countless dust and disappearing into the void, fusing with the dark void. Ding successfully killed Celestial Venerable Southern Ming, received 115,000 compressed EXP, 3,000 compressed Crazy Point, 3,000 SPs. Obtained Southern Ming Spirit Treasure, Southern Ming Divine Art, Sacred Peak Divine Realm Global Information Record. Successfully killed a Celestial Venerable, received an additional 50,000 compressed EXP. Their cultivation techniques and spirit treasures are named after their title. When they cultivate to the level of celestial venerable, some of them begin to create their own martial arts, so what they drop is the same as their name. Sacred Peak Divine Realm Global Information Record. This is not the first time these information records about the Sacred Peak Divine Realm dropped. The ones that dropped before were about cultivators. He had already opened them long ago, and they were all very detailed records. From these information records, he can see the whole picture of the Sacred Peak Divine Realm. After reading, he knew that the Sacred Peak Divine Realm is full of confidence. There are really a lot of strong people. Just the Divine Monarch level, there are already more than 100. As for the Celestial Venerable level, there are as many as a dozen. Of course, after he killed 9 Celestial Venerables, the entire Sacred Peak Divine Realm is at the bottom. It can be said to be half destroyed. As for how to gather the other Celestial Venerables, it depends on their ability. I wonder how they will feel when they know that they are all dead. Tianyun showed a trace of a sneer. For these divine realms that colluded with the Death God realm and the Evil Spirit realm, he doesn't like them at all, only full of disgust. Moreover, they want to forcibly suppress the Heavenly Spring Divine Realm. No matter what, he is the Deputy Domain Lord of the Heavenly Spring Divine Realm. After cleaning them up, Tianyun went back very satisfied and waited for the rest of the news. At the moment when Celestial Venerable Southern Ming was killed, the eyes of the Divine Emperor Yuqin in the Sacred Peak Divine Realm lit up. She immediately felt that the connection with Celestial Venerable Southern Ming was cut off. He really killed them. The Divine Emperor Yuqin was shocked. She thought that it would take a long time, but it didn't take long for the elders to be killed. Chapter 1391. The reason the Divine Emperor Yuqin could deceive everyone so easily was largely because the other heavenly venerates didn't have any slaves. Even if they did, they would have been sent out. They didn't know about their deaths for the time being, unlike heavenly venerate Southern Deep, who had sworn oaths. Of course, these elders wouldn't casually swear oaths to others. Only existences with a higher cultivation base or people of value would swear oaths. The rest would be left to their subordinates to manage. They only needed to swear oaths of loyalty to important subordinates. Their plan had succeeded by exploiting this loophole. Otherwise, they would be finished if they were seen through. After all, as long as their master died, they would immediately sense it. Now that the Divine Emperor Yuqin had sensed it, she had to leave even though she was injured. Once they found out, she would definitely be dead. Not long after she left, news of Heavenly Venerate Southern Deep's death spread. Many god generals had sworn oaths to Heavenly Venerate Southern Deep. Hence, they immediately sensed Heavenly Venerate Southern Deep's death. One by one they gathered. The Sacred Peak's main hall was filled with a heavy atmosphere. When they learned of Heavenly Venerate Southern Deep's death, they immediately felt that something was wrong. It was very likely that they had all been wiped out. If Heavenly Venerate Southern Deep was dead, how much better could the other Heavenly Venerates be? The 9 Heavenly Venerates might have already given up. A Heavenly Venerate on the side had a cold expression. His tone was even colder, like a cold abyss that made everyone feel incomparable fear. These were 9 Heavenly Venerates, not 9 God Lords, and definitely not 9 Lord of Heaven. If it had been 9 Lord of Heaven or God Lords, they wouldn't have felt anything. If they were dead, so be it. Now that 9 of their main combat power had died, the significance was completely different. Yes, losing 9 Heavenly Venerates basically means that the Sacred Peak Domain's forces have been cut in half. If this continues, it will be difficult for the Sacred Peak Sacred Domain to gain an advantage in this Sacred Domain battle. Sacred Peak Sacred Domain Master, your performance has really disappointed us. The Heavenly Venerates that came down from the inner Sacred Domain all had ugly expressions. Initially, they thought that they would be able to save the Elder from before. However, not only did they fail to save the Elder, they even lost a group of people. This situation made it hard for them to feel happy. If the previous 4 Empyreans had only lost 1 arm, then now they would have lost both arms and a leg. 9 Empyreans, including the extremely powerful Great Elder. How could they not feel angry? It must be the myriad Heaven Divine Realm. That's why they ambushed all the Empyreans there. That's why this sort of situation could happen. The Sacred Peak Domain Master was enraged. He was completely enraged. He stood up from his chair and said angrily, "Let's attack them now and destroy them." "What did you say?" These heavenly venerables stared coldly at the Sacred Peak Domain leader. Just one look was enough to weaken the Sacred Peak Domain leader, and he did not dare to say another word. Seeing that the Sacred Peak Protectorate leader had calmed down, the heavenly venerables said coldly, "Now, no matter what happens, we have to endure it. Let's wait for the Divine Realm War to begin. If we continue to rush over, we'll fall into a trap and waste our men." It wasn't that they didn't want revenge, but revenge would ruin things. If they continued to rush over, it would be equivalent to walking into the other party's trap, putting themselves in an even more disadvantageous situation. Think about it. The divine realm of the three realms might have set up an inescapable net, and most of the myriad heaven divine realms forces might be lying in ambush there. Unless they attacked with all their might, they would be defeated. Therefore, they could only choose to calm down and wait for the divine realm war to begin. That would be the best time for revenge. Yes. The Sacred Peak Domain Master gradually calmed down. He had always been a hot-tempered person, and he would definitely take revenge on anyone who dared to touch his reverse scale. But now he could not vent his anger. He could only wait for the Divine Realm War to begin before he could fight. Speaking of which, how did that girl escape alive? Capture her and carefully interrogate her and search her soul. One of the heavenly venerables immediately felt that something was wrong. Yes. The guards immediately went to capture the Divine Emperor Yuqin. A moment later, the guard returned and said hurriedly, "Sir, the Divine Emperor Yuqin has disappeared. We have no idea where he went." As expected, the heavenly venerables crushed the jade cup in his hand. The other heavenly venerables immediately realized what was going on. A trap. Everything was a trap. They did not suspect much at the time, but now it seemed that it was all a scam. How sad. I didn't expect something like this to happen. I was too careless. Everyone present had fallen for this scam, and they felt extremely ashamed and resentful. They were heavenly venerables, but they had been played like this. How could it not be sad? When the Divine Realm War begins, we must destroy the Divine Realm of the three realms and the myriad heaven Divine Realm. One of the heavenly venerables' eyes were cold. No matter what, they had to destroy the Divine Realm of the three realms and completely flatten it. As for the myriad heaven Divine Realm, they had taken the blame for Tianyin. They did not do anything at all, but instead were made the scapegoat. It could only be said that this was the only thing they could think of. How could a first-grade Divine Realm defeat 9 heavenly venerables without the support of a powerful force? In fact, there was really no need. In the Divine Realm of the three realms, Tianyin had been waiting to see if there were any other powerhouses attacking. Killing 9 heavenly venerables, the experience gained is really not bad. It's enough for me to level up several levels. Tianyin smiled. The harvest was really quite rich. Just the heavenly venerables alone, he had obtained more than 9 pieces, and that was not counting the other treasures. All accumulated, it was definitely a shocking amount of wealth. But they probably won't dare to continue coming. If they come again, they'll have to mobilize external forces. Tianyin sneered and said, "I'm quite looking forward to their appearance. Only by earning more experience can we have a chance of winning this battle." If his cultivation broke through to the heavenly venerable level, then the Divine Realm War would basically be a sure win. Just imagine, reaching the heavenly venerable level, and erupting with 128 times the strength. Who could resist it? Tianyin raised his eyebrows and quickly disappeared on the spot. The next moment he appeared at the edge of the Divine Realm of the three realms. At this time a figure slowly flew over. It was the Divine Emperor Yuqin. She was currently flying over with injuries and her face was pale. She had just recovered a little, and she was about to forcefully fly over. "You're injured." Tianyin quickly flew over, and arrived in front of the Divine Emperor Yuqin. You're here?" The Divine Emperor Yuqin smiled and directly fell into his arms. Chapter 1392. It was obvious that Sir God Yuqin had chosen to hurt herself, which was why she had ended up like this. After all, the Divine Emperor Yuqin didn't have any problems when he went back. Instead, he came back with many old injuries. He didn't think that the Sacred Peak Celestial Realm had caused this. If they had treated her like this, she wouldn't have been able to escape. She didn't have the ability to teleport like Yi Tianyan. If she was caught, she wouldn't have been able to escape. So that's the plan. Yi Tianyan shook his head. However, it was all worth it. If it wasn't like this, it would be hard to deceive them. Think about it. If she went back in one piece, who would believe her words? Therefore, she would definitely choose to go back with serious injuries. However, it would be difficult to control the degree. Now, it seemed that she had grasped the degree very well. She had successfully deceived a lot of heavenly venerables. Then, Yi Tianyan brought the Divine Emperor Yuqin to Shi Shuiyun's side and said, "Help me treat her. She's seriously injured." "Which family did you bring back this time? Or is it a sister?" Shi Shuiyun teased when she saw the Divine Emperor Yuqin. "This is a great hero. It's not a sister or a sister." Yi Tianyan coughed awkwardly. Leave it to me." Shi Shuiyun immediately brought the Divine Emperor Yuqin to treat his injuries. It wasn't convenient for Yi Tianyan to take care of him, so he asked his wife to do so. After giving instructions, Shi Shuiyun walked over and said, "Her injuries are quite serious. She wasn't attacked. It was quite fierce. What happened?" "Actually, these injuries were caused by herself," Yi Tianyan said honestly. "Caused by herself?" Shi Shuiyun was puzzled. Shortly after, Yi Tianyan began to explain the situation. After explaining the general situation, Shi Shuiyun was shocked. The main thing was that several Empyreans had died at the hands of Yi Tianyan. This was incomparably shocking. At the same time, he was filled with admiration for the Divine Emperor Yuqin's actions. It was not easy to come up with such a plan. "If it's really dangerous, why didn't you tell me?" Shi Shuiyun rolled her eyes at him, her beautiful eyes filled with worry. She did not know how strong a celestial venerable's cultivation was, but when she felt the power of a divine lord, she knew that it was quite heaven-defying. Now that Yi Tianyan was facing 9 Empyreans, how could he not feel the pressure multiply? "Well, I didn't want you to worry. Now everything is fine. I've taken care of everything," Yi Tianyan said with a smile. Shi Shuiyun's eyes reddened, and she threw herself into his arms. "I know what kind of enemies you have been facing. I can't help you with anything. I can only help you maintain the situation here." Her cultivation was no match for Yi Tianyan. No matter how much she cultivated, no matter how crazy she was, it was useless. Instead, the gap between them was getting bigger and bigger. "Sai, what are you thinking about? This is my foundation. If it weren't for you guys maintaining this place, it would have collapsed long ago. You guys have contributed a lot. If it were me, this place would have collapsed already." Yi Tianyan smiled. "That's why I said don't think too much. I'm not comforting you. It's the truth." These words were not nonsense. He did not understand management. Hence, he could only keep looking for talents to manage. Now it proved that he had a good eye. He could find a bunch of geniuses who could help him manage. If it weren't for their help, it would have been very difficult for him to complete his mission. It could be said that they had contributed a lot. None of them were vases. They were all extremely capable. In terms of cultivation, who could compare to him? His speed of cultivation was too fast. No one could compare to him. And Shi Shuiyun did not say much. If she said too much, it would be too pretentious. There was no one who did not want to roam the world with their Tao companion, fighting and killing together. After comforting her for a while, Yi Tianyan said softly, "It's about time. It's time to announce that we will be participating in the God Realm battle." Announcing it so soon? Shi Shuiyun was surprised. "Almost. There's not much time left. There are only a few decades left. Time will pass in the blink of an eye. We need a lot of time to prepare," Yi Tianyan said. "Indeed, we need a lot of time to prepare. We also need to give them some time to accept." Shi Shuiyun shook her head. She did not know if it would cause chaos if she said it out loud. A grade 1 god realm participating in the god realm battle. How could it not cause chaos? Don't worry, they will accept it easily. The corners of Yi Tianyin's mouth curled into a confident smile. Following that, Yi Tianyin announced in a clear voice, "Let me tell everyone something. Our god realm of the 3 realms will be participating in the god realm battle. Yes, you did not hear wrongly. We will be participating in the god realm battle. This is an easy god realm battle. The winner will become the king of a generation and obtain the highest glory. The loser will be destroyed, and no one will remember them. There are still 20 to 30 years until the god realm battle. This is not a long time. Now, I will give everyone a chance to think about it. Will you choose to fight with me, or will you choose to leave? It's all up to you. I will not stop you." His voice covered the entire god realm of the 3 realms, allowing everyone to hear it. With his cultivation, he could not do this. However, with the help of a large array, he could transmit the message. This was specially made by the divine spirit race. It could easily transmit any message to every planet. When the crowd heard this, they were all stunned. They were even more dumbfounded. They had never thought that the god realm of the 3 realms would be participating in the god realm battle. They had been here for a long time, and they had all heard about this. This was a matter for grade 3 god realms. Grade 1 god realms could only stand aside. Now that they were participating, it was unbelievable. Crazy, he's really crazy. Isn't the heavenly cloud territorial lord afraid that everyone will run away? Yes, a grade 1 god realm trying to reach grade 3 god realm is simply courting death. If they say it out, they will run away. Yes, they shouldn't say it out. They should just participate in the god realm battle. That way they won't run away. Many disciples and elders who had just joined the Heavenly Spring Sacred Realm were dumbfounded. They felt that Yi Tianyin was being too reckless. This would definitely lead to a riot. Not to mention a riot, many people would definitely run away. If it were them, they would choose not to say it out. When they were participating in the God Realm battle, it would be too late to run away. They could only choose to resist. If they succeeded in forcing them to participate, they would not hate each other. If they failed, then hatred would be useless. Everything would be gone. Who would they hate? Chapter 1393. The cultivators of the Heavenly Spring Divine Realm shook their heads, thinking that it was too reckless. When they joined the Divine Realm, the elders were convinced. But that didn't mean that the other cultivators were convinced. After all, there were many things that they had yet to see. How could a Grade 2 God Realm join a Grade 1 God Realm? Now that Yi Tianyin had made such a decision, they felt that it was extremely reckless and brainless. Isn't the Heavenly Cloud Territory ruler's announcement a bit too hasty? Elder Go Huang and the others had mixed feelings in their eyes. They thought Yi Tianyin was too hasty, and it was easy for him to lose control. The rest of the elders nodded in agreement. Even though they were aware of Yi Tianyin's strength and felt that he was very strong, the other cultivators were different. They were worried about their own safety, and they were even more afraid of a Grade 3 God Realm. All of them were terrified. They didn't even have the will to fight. How could they fight? He lost before the fight even started. Not at all. The Glazed Region Lord smiled faintly and said, "I don't think it's very sloppy. Since he chose to announce it, he has absolute confidence in himself. Moreover, with his personality, he would never lie to his subordinates. He would announce everything." The words of the Glazed Region Master made them silent. They did not refute, but they felt that something must have gone wrong. They had never seen a god domain with such absolute unity. His words immediately caused an uproar. Participate in the Divine Realm War? Heavens, we're going to participate in the Divine Realm War. Since the Heavenly Cloud's Great Emperor has decided to participate, let's give it our all. Yes. If the Heavenly Cloud's Great Emperor isn't afraid, why should we be? But my children and my wife's cultivation bases are relatively weak. What should I do? What are you afraid of? We can move out. The Heavenly Cloud's Great Emperor didn't say that everyone must participate, and the rest could just leave. This glory, we will definitely take it. Yes. The heavenly cloud's great emperor has taken care of us so much. It's time for us to contribute. But our cultivations are too low. How can we help by participating in the divine realm war? What's there to be afraid of? Since the heavenly cloud's great emperor thinks it's possible, then it's definitely possible. I've always looked forward to the battle of gods. If it weren't for the heavenly cloud's great emperor, I wouldn't have been able to participate in it for the rest of my life. All of them wanted to participate in the divine realm war and serve Yi Tianyin. It could be said that their worship of Yi Tianyin had reached the extreme. After getting along for a while, the other forces were also very loyal. The main reason was that this place was fair enough, and the treatment was even more generous. It was much better than before. Since he had treated them so well, they would naturally repay him in kind. Would Great Emperor Cloud since realm were they, and then they would be, and Cloud's great. All they would choose to participate. Soon, the enthusiasm of many cultivators was transmitted to him. Almost the god realm's king many too great. Most, were to participate battle. The war had world too great realm to. One realm, many people to disciples great realm to cultivators to world. After all, if they announced that they would participate in the battle of God's realm, it was tantamount to declaring war on all the third-grade god realms. If any third-grade god realm attacked and destroyed them in advance, it would be a tragedy. However, there was no loss for these people to leave. They had just joined the god realm not long ago, so their loyalty was naturally low. Elder, the situation of the god realm of the three realms. The guard who came in was shocked, and he was speechless. What is the situation of the god realm of the three realms now? Did a lot of cultivators leave? Elder Go Huang and the others had a look of certainty on their faces. No. Basically, they didn't leave. Those who left are the ones who joined recently. None of them chose to leave. All of them are very enthusiastic and support the heavenly cloud's great realm's decision. The guards were shocked when they heard the news. Many of them had even placed bets on whether they would run half of the race or more than half of it. Who knew that no one would leave? All of them chose to stay and support Yi Tianyin's decision. What? The elders were dumbfounded, and they wondered if they heard it wrong. Are you sure you didn't leave, but stayed here all the time? We are sure they didn't leave. They are very enthusiastic and excited, and they worship the heavenly cloud's great realm. The guards had a strange look on their faces. They didn't know what kind of charm Yi Tianyin had to achieve such an effect. This is too exaggerated. Too exaggerated. The elders sat in their chairs, and their eyes were still filled with disbelief. As I said, since he announced it, he must have his own confidence. Liuli Great Realm Master smiled, but he was still very shocked. They really didn't leave. There was no one in the entire God realm who had this kind of cohesiveness. Many forces chose to stay because they were too powerful. Under the situation where first-grade God realms were hitting a rock with an egg, they still chose to stay. They were really too loyal. However, this loyalty was built on many conditions. If Yi Tianyin didn't treat them well, they would have already left. On Yi Tianyin's side, after hearing the news, he smiled and said, I told you they definitely won't leave. Shuoyin was shocked. Although she had been in charge of this place for a long time, she still thought that most of them would leave when faced with this kind of thing. Who knew they didn't leave? It seems that your charm is too great, Tianyin. You have completely locked their hearts. Shuoyin smiled and said, No, it is because of your help that I can be so confident. Yi Tianyin smiled and said something that Shuoyin didn't quite understand. The main reason why Yi Tianyin could be so confident was that they were extremely loyal, and they definitely wouldn't choose to leave. This was all created under the management of Shuoyin. For example, the construction of statues, all kinds of rewards, etc., were all in the name of Yi Tianyin. This way they would feel grateful, and from then on, they would become more and more loyal to Yi Tianyin. Shuoyin and the others couldn't see the degree of loyalty, but Yi Tianyin could see it. That was why he was so confident. If not for this, he wouldn't have dared to announce it in a hurry. If more than half of them left, it would be a huge loss. Although they wouldn't be needed in many situations, the structure of the force couldn't be done without them. Is that so? Are we that useful? Shi Shuiyan shook her head in disbelief. Chapter 1394. Shi Shuiyan and the others had never imagined that the divine realm of the three realms would be so stable. This scene shocked the entire Heavenly Spring divine realm. While they were shocked, they also felt that they weren't united enough. The gap between them was too big. Thinking back to the time when they wanted to join a Grade 1 God realm or relocate, a large group of cultivators left one after another. What kind of cohesiveness was that? Compared to the three realms God realm, it was nothing. In terms of overall strength, a Grade 2 God realm was undeniably stronger. But now, in comparison, it was a pile of dregs. No matter how strong one's overall strength was, without cohesiveness, it would not belong to them. Who knows, they might become someone else's disciple in the next moment. It was to the extent that they were used to this kind of situation, so they substituted this situation for other forces. Now he had been slapped in the face, and it was not a light slap either. Previously, they had said that many of them would definitely leave. Now it seemed like it was just their wishful thinking. When the God realm of the three realms announced that they would be participating in the God realm battle, it immediately caused a huge uproar. This news spread to the surrounding God realms, and at the same time, it rapidly spread to the second and third grade God realms. Soon, the reputation of the three realms' divine realm, which was already a little famous, exploded. However, there was nothing but mockery. There was no praise at all. Basically, it was those who felt that the three realms' God realm were overestimating themselves, or that they were throwing eggs at a rock, or that they were courting death. None of the God realm thought highly of them. The Grade 1 God realms that had allied themselves with Tianyan were so frightened that they announced that they would no longer be participating in the God realm war. Allies would naturally choose to leave in the face of danger. Tianyan did not blame them. As long as they did not invade, it did not matter who their allies were. After all, even a Grade 2 God realm expert would choose to leave the alliance. The God realm battle was too frightening. A Grade 1 God realm cultivator didn't even have the qualifications to be cannon fodder, so how were they supposed to participate? It would be troublesome if a Grade 3 God realm mistook them for being on the same side. Tianyan wanted to die, but they didn't. However, there was one sacred land that did not choose to leave the alliance, and that was the Heavenly Mandate Sacred Land. Not only did they not leave the alliance, but they also sent someone over to talk. This time, both the Heavenly Mandate Region Lord and Nian Xiu came in person. After they came in, they all bowed respectfully. Greetings, Liuli Region Lord, Tianyan Region Lord. The Heavenly Mandate Region Lord came in person, and as soon as he arrived, he stated his purpose of coming. This time, I'm here to form an alliance and participate in the battle of the divine zones together. We will transfer our forces and join the God realm of the three realms. We hope that you can accommodate our disciples. The resources of the Heavenly Mandate divine realm were limited, and it was estimated that only 1 or 2 planets could be moved, and that was the limit. As for the rest, there was no way he could teleport them. The resources were simply too lacking. It was impossible for him to teleport them over like a Grade 2 God domain. Tianyan squinted at the Heavenly Mandate Region Lord and the others. They must have heard about the Heavenly Spring Divine Realm, and wanted to join the Divine Realm of the three realms. We're going to participate in the Battle of God's Domain. Are you sure you want to join us now? Tianyan asked again. Region Master Liuli didn't say anything. Everything here was managed by Tianyan. They had no right to intervene. Yes, this is the time to join us. We hope to participate in the Battle of God's Domain together, and participate in this battle of honor. The Heavenly Mandate Region Lord's eyes were shining. We believe that the divine realm of the three realms will win in the end. Are you trying to flatter me? Tianyan smiled. What a nice thing to say. Even he didn't dare to say it, but the Heavenly Mandate Region Lord dared to say it. No. The Heavenly Mandate Region Lord was extremely embarrassed, but he did mean to flatter them. How could he not flatter these warriors? All right, since you're so determined, I'll let you join us. Hurry up and move your forces here. There's not much time left. Tianyun waved his hand and didn't say anything else. If they wanted to join, they could join. He was more than happy to do so. He had been planning to rope in some divine zones, but now, the Heavenly Mandate Divine Realm had joined them. He didn't know the reason, but it was good to have more of such situations. Soon, the Heavenly Mandate Region Lord and the others left and immediately went to move their forces. After they left, the Lioli Region Lord said, "Actually, I asked them to join us, but after they heard it, they didn't ask why and immediately chose to join us." Huh. Tianyun was puzzled. Why? There's no reason. I think you can pass the battle of God's domain, and I've always felt that the Heavenly Mandate Divine Realm is loyal, so I asked them to join us and promote them. The situation of the Heavenly Mandate Divine Realm is not bad, and their overall strength is not bad. They can be strengthened if they join us. The Lioli Region Lord said with a smile. Tianyun was stunned. He looked her up and down and said, "How come I didn't know that I could win? Sister Lioli, how did you know?" "It's just a hunch. Anyway, there's nothing wrong with taking a gamble, don't you think?" The Lioli Region Lord smiled slightly. A woman's intuition was quite terrifying, especially a strong woman with strong cultivation. The main reason was that the Lioli Region Lord had seen too many miracles. Maybe she would succeed this time? Anyway, they had no way out, so they might as well take a gamble. "Well, I hope we can win," Tianyun said with a smile. Soon, the Heavenly Mandate Divine Realm moved over. They didn't bring many warriors, and those who were willing to join were few. Facing the battle of the Divine Realm, they all ran away. It was quite miserable. Only the Divine Realm of the three realms had always been strong. So strong that when other Divine Realms knew about it, they all felt inferior. When the third-grade Divine Realm knew about it, they all expressed their disdain. So what if they were strong? A first-grade Divine Realm was a first-grade Divine Realm. No matter how strong the cohesion was, without strong power, it was trash. Ding, successfully let a first-grade Divine Realm join your force. Obtain 500 points of compressed experience and 500 points of compressed proficiency. At the same time, I am the Region Lord, has been slightly tripled in power. Only tripled in power. Tianyun frowned. It seemed that if the grade was too low, the effect would be reduced. In this way, if a third-grade Divine Realm joined him. However, it was impossible for a third-grade Divine Realm to join him, unless the Divine Realm of the three realms was third-grade. Now all that was left was to wait for the time to come. With a little preparation, they would be facing the most terrifying battle of the Divine Realm. Once it started, it would be a massacre. Chapter 1395. Those who survived were the winners. This wasn't just nonsense. If a large number of second or third-grade God Realm forces were destroyed, then the first-grade God Realms could move to a better area to cultivate. This was equivalent to winning and reaping a large sum of benefits. They could also enjoy the various resources of a second-grade God Realm. Some of the cultivation areas would not be destroyed, and were even ready-made. This situation had been recorded in previous God Realm wars. Those who were luckier would have a huge leap in strength. Time passed quickly. Just when many God Realms thought the three realms God Realm would be destroyed by the third-grade God Realm, nothing happened at all. This shocked them. They didn't know what was going on, but the third-grade God Realm didn't go and destroy an arrogant God Realm. This was too unexpected. Could it be that the third-grade God Realm didn't want to bother with a first-grade God Realm? But according to this statement, it was impossible. In the past, anyone who dared to say such nonsense would be an enemy. Any random grade 3 God Realm cultivator who could not stand such an arrogant God Realm cultivator would immediately send someone to annihilate them. Now that nothing had happened to him, they were all very curious. Even so, no other first or second grade God Realms said they would participate in the God Realm war. They didn't have the ability and wouldn't do something so stupid. These first and second grade God Realms didn't know much, but third grade God Realms were different. For example, a few heavenly venerables never came out after going to the three realms God Realm. Just this point was terrifying. If it were any other first or second grade God Realm, they would have been destroyed immediately. But the three realms God Realm didn't dare to act recklessly. Interesting. I didn't expect our myriad heaven god realm to take the blame. The three realms god realm has nothing to do with us, but the outside world says it's related to us. Domain Lord Wantian rubbed his chin. The elders below started discussing. Compared to the sacred peak god realm, the myriad heaven god realm had 8 or 9 heavenly venerables. As for the inner god realm, there were also quite a few. Domain Lord Wantian, why don't we send someone to check it out or kill them? Or should we announce to the outside world that it has nothing to do with us? One of the elders suggested. Announce to the outside world that it has nothing to do with us? Do you think they'll believe us? Domain Master Wantian was a middle-aged man with an extremely handsome appearance. He was from the Illusion God tribe, and his bloodline power was ranked at the top. His cultivation was at the late-stage middle heavenly venerable realm, which was considered quite powerful. I don't think so. The elder smiled awkwardly. If it was him, he wouldn't believe it either. It's good that you know. We'll have to pay a high price to destroy them. Why don't we send someone to communicate and offer them the best conditions to them? Since everyone thinks that we're related, we might as well let them think so. Domain Lord Wantian waved his hand. Everyone's eyes lit up. It would be good if they could. God. That's great. Let's do it that way. Everyone nodded, feeling that this was the right thing to do. Since he was going to be the scapegoat, he might as well let it be. Soon they sent people to the three realms' divine realm. Yi Tianyan also sensed their arrival, but he didn't pay attention to them because they didn't have any hostility. God realm guards, they were spirit. They were at domain. They were at realm. Yi Tianyan already knew their identity. Nothing could be hidden from his appraisal eye. Well, where are you from? Yi Tianyan already knew the identity of the other party, and with his appraisal eye, everything was exposed. I'm from the domain. Yi Tianyan already knew the envoy's identity. I am an envoy from the Myriad Heaven Divine Realm. The reason why the Myriad Heaven Domain Lord sent me here is to discuss the situation of cooperation. This envoy's attitude was still rather respectful, and not very arrogant. This was the difference in strength. The domain of the three realms had always been overbearing. How could they treat them as equals? What kind of cooperation? Yi Tianyan narrowed his eyes. He had expected that the Myriad Heaven Divine Realm would send someone to negotiate with him, but he was still the scapegoat. They would either cooperate with him or fall out with him. There was no doubt they would choose the former. It's simple. We hope you can join Domain Lord Wantian of Cloud Domain and participate in the Battle of the Divine Realms. You'll have a chance to go to the Inner Divine Realm. If not, we'll take care of you in the Inner Divine Realm. We won't mistreat you, the envoy said with a smile. As for how the core of the token would determine if they were on their side, it was still up for discussion. They would have a chance if they joined a few decades earlier. Whether or not they would be able to go together was another matter. Thank you for your invitation, but we don't plan to join any forces. Yi Tianyan rejected with a smile. What a joke. Joining Domain Lord Wantian was not his style. Moreover, they might not even be able to reach the top. If they were able to reach the top, it would be fine even if they teamed up. The key thing was that the chances were very slim. The envoy's smile froze. We're from Domain Lord Wantian. I know Domain Lord Wantian of Cloud Domain is powerful, but in the Battle of the Divine Realms, we need comprehensive strength. Our Myriad Heaven God Realm will be able to provide very good protection for this. No need. We've already decided not to join any forces. If you want to join us, I welcome you. Yi Tianyan said with a smile. You're really not going to consider it? The outside world is in an uproar. Everyone says that you're related to us, and that you're only able to maintain your current status because of our protection. If we announce to the outside world that you have nothing to do with us, you can imagine the consequences. The envoy was extremely dissatisfied. A rank 1 divine realm was actually so arrogant and unwilling to join them. He really didn't know how to appreciate favors. All right, you can announce it to the outside world. I don't mind at all. Yi Tianyan shrugged indifferently. He didn't care about that at all. The envoy was stunned. He didn't expect Yi Tianyan to be so decisive. It scared him. All right. The envoy could only choose to give up. Since Yi Tianyan had already said so, what else could he do? He could only go back and tell the Domain Lord that he refused to join Domain Lord Wantian of Cloud Domain. The envoy then left. Yi Tianyan watched him leave and said with a smile, "Recruitment. I can win this battle. Why should I join other forces?" Chapter 1396. When the myriad sky sacred region's emissary returned with the news, the elders were enraged. The sacred region of the three realms is too arrogant. How dare they reject our invitation? They were all indignant, feeling that the sacred region of the three realms was too arrogant. How dare a first-grade god realm act so arrogantly in front of them? So what if we refuse? What can you do? The myriad sky domain leader said calmly. They were speechless, not knowing what to say. What could they do if they really refused? Could they send a large group of people to destroy the sacred region of the three realms? Of course, that was impossible. The Sacred Peak Sacred Region had already sent a large group of powerhouses, but there was no news. If they forcibly attacked, even if they won, there would be casualties on their side. This was not something they wanted to see. If we can't do anything, then stay here obediently and prepare for the Sacred Realm battle. The Myriad Sky Domain leader said coldly. When the time comes, we will wipe out all forces that stand in our way, be it the Sacred Peak Sacred Region or the Three Realms Sacred Region. Yes. They did not continue to dwell on this matter. All their strength would only be truly valuable when the time came. Even if they had to sacrifice themselves, it would only be valuable when the time came. Sacrificing themselves now would be a waste of time and life. Time passed quickly, and everything was peaceful. At least the Three Realms Sacred Region did not have any trouble at all. Everything went according to plan. Yi Tianyan focused on alchemy, refining large batches of elixirs and strengthening the divine seals of the major planets. At the same time, this was also a form of cultivation. He wanted to improve his soul strength to the heavenly venerable level. He did not want his soul strength to remain the same even after his cultivation level increased. That would be quite troublesome. In the blink of an eye, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, time passed quickly. It was getting closer to the Sacred Realm battle. All the powerhouses were on edge. Almost all the sacred realms were on edge, waiting for the Sacred Realm battle to begin. The third-grade god realms were worried about the location of the token core, while the first-grade god realms were worried about the location of the token core. The difference was that the third-grade god realms were worried about the location of the token core, while the first-grade god realms were worried about the location of the token core. Soon, Yi Tianyan looked up at the sky. He also had a feeling that the token's core would appear soon. However, it was not clear where he would appear. However, no matter where it appeared, he would be able to snatch it with the fastest speed possible. During this period of time, he wasn't just staying here. Instead, he was heading to the vicinity of the various divine territories to obtain teleportation coordinates. This way, he could directly teleport over and easily snatch it. Swish, swish, swish. Suddenly, a group of figures appeared in the void. Yi Tianyan raised his head to look at the sky and saw a group of people breaking through the void. He smiled. Region Master Glaze and the others on the side were stunned. The cultivation of this group of people was very strong. Among them, there were 3 whose auras made it hard for them to breathe. Don't be nervous, they are all my senior brothers. Yi Tianyan smiled. Senior brother? They were startled. They had never heard of a senior brother coming to help them. They had only heard that Yi Tianyan would have a powerhouse helping him, but they didn't expect it to be his senior brother. 3 Empyrean-level senior apprentice brothers. This situation made them feel somewhat shocked. Then they thought about how Yi Tianyan could break through so quickly. Was it related to this sect? The cultivators who broke through the void were the 3 senior brothers. As they were preparing for the Divine Domain War, they naturally followed their previous promise and quickly came here to make preparations. Little junior brother, we came to help. These are all my disciples. I called all of them to help. Empyrean Sword Ruler and the others smiled. They had brought a large group of divine monarchs, and each of them looked extraordinary. Many thanks for the help, senior brothers. Yi Tianyan cupped his hands in gratitude. No need to be so polite. We already agreed. Empyrean Sword Ruler was still the most talkative. As for the other two senior brothers, they only smiled and didn't say anything. No matter what, I am very grateful that senior brothers came to help, Etianyan said with a smile. At this time, Empyrean Force stood up and solemnly said, "There are still 2 days. 2 days later, the token core will definitely appear. The problem now is which region it will appear in. This is the biggest problem. According to the usual situation, it will appear near a grade 3 god domain. It will not appear near a grade 1 god domain. This means that you are in a passive situation from the start. Why don't you head to the grade 2 or grade 3 god domains and wait there?" They had already accurately calculated the number of days. It was just that the location was not very clear. Everything depended on luck. The stronger one's luck, the closer they would be to the core. Generally, grade 3 god domain forces had stronger luck. Naturally, they would be closer to them. There is no need to head to a grade 3 or grade 1 god domain. Etianyan smiled confidently and said, "In terms of luck, I am not worse than anyone." Etianyan's confidence made them speechless. Could he not be so confident? It was undeniable that Etianyan's luck was definitely not bad. But compared to the entire god domain, the difference was too great. Cough cough, since junior apprentice brother is so confident, then stay here. Empyrean Sword C smiled and said, "Anyway, we have a month. In this 1 month, it will depend on junior apprentice brother's ability. In any case, they would stay here. If Etianyan did not obtain it, then they could only wait for the next Divine Realm battle. In theory, they did not want Etianyan to participate in the Divine Realm battle. But since Etianyan was so stubborn, they could only let him do as he pleased. Etianyan didn't say anything more. He's confident. He's not just talking nonsense." As time slowly passed, everyone stared at the sky. When the token core appeared, something would immediately happen. At that time, they would be able to sense where it was. Therefore, they all stayed outside, looking at the void outside. Soon, 2 days were almost up. The closer it was to time, the more nervous they became. At this time, Etianyan smiled and activated his luck halo. After the powerful luck halo was activated, his originally amazing luck value was stacked up crazily. His entire body was glowing faintly. Buzz. After a moment, a large light appeared in the void. Following that, a token core appeared in the sky, looking very dazzling. Chapter 1397. No one had expected that the core of the token would appear right above them. There was no need for them to go to a grade 2 or grade 3 god realm. It was enough for them to stay here. However, this situation made their faces twitch, and they felt that it was very strange. Especially when they thought of Etianyan's confidence. They thought that Etianyan was overconfident or was trying to comfort himself. Who knew that the core of the token would appear right here? There was really nothing to worry about. God. What bullshit luck. It's all bullshit. This is the most heaven-defying thing. Heavenly Cloud Territorial Lord. Did you figure out that the core of the token would appear here? That's why you occupied the Chaos Dominion and waited here? Little junior brother, they are right. Did you really figure it out? They were all dumbfounded by the scene in front of them. They could only figure out how long it would take, but they could never figure out where the core of the token would appear. Even the vast heavenly master could not figure it out, let alone them. No, this is a matter of luck. Etianyan smiled and immediately flew up. He reached out and grabbed the core of the token, and it fell into his hand easily. Soon after, a beam of divine light descended and enveloped his body, which was equivalent to locking him in place. Everyone knew who he was. Is this the core of the token? Etianyan looked at the core of the token in his hand. It looked like a very ordinary token, but it contained a special energy. Etianyan did not know what kind of energy it was, but he could feel that it was extremely terrifying. It was even a level higher than the power of a heavenly master. No matter what kind of energy it was, he only needed to know that this thing could take him to a special environment. Immediately after, Etianyan wanted to take the core of the token to another god realm, or to a remote god realm in Fanyu. he suddenly found that he could not teleport at all. I can't teleport? Etianyan was stunned. It seemed that the power of this thing was too strong. It completely locked onto him, so he could not teleport out of here. He could only fly. He had set up so many teleportation symbols not only to obtain the token's core as quickly as possible, but also to escape quickly. Now that he had obtained the token core easily, it was all thanks to his luck aura. He only felt that there was a high chance, but he didn't think that it would definitely appear above. If he could really appear nearby, he would also want to use the teleportation stone to escape. At the very least, they had to leave this area and not set the main battlefield here. At that time, he would have to face the army alone, but this was the result he wanted. Senior brothers, I'll be leaving first. I'll leave this place to you guys. Etianyan said, turned around and flew out quickly. The three senior brothers were stunned. They thought that Etianyan wouldn't leave and would stay here. From the looks of it, Etianyan wanted to face a group of experts alone. However, they didn't stop him. Since their junior brother had made such a decision, they wouldn't interfere. It should be said that they would only guard this place and not interfere in other matters. Is it luck? This luck is really heaven-defying. They shook their heads and smiled bitterly. Whether it was divine or not, or luck, both were heaven-defying effects. At least, it was beyond their expectations. They thought they would have to fight for it, but now it seemed that there was no need for that. It was directly turned into defending. Etianyan left the Three Realms celestial realm at an extremely fast speed. But no matter where he went, the divine light enveloped him, sticking close to him, not leaving him for even a moment. After he left the Three Realms celestial realm, the Three Realms celestial realm was also enveloped by the divine light, representing his forces. The main force will definitely be lured away. Hopefully, the Three Realms celestial realm will suffer less attacks. Etianyan's eyes were sharp. The celestial realm battle had officially begun. At the same time, the other third-grade celestial realm experts were on edge. When they saw the divine light descending, they were all dumbfounded. The place where the token core landed was actually a first-grade celestial realm. This was something they hadn't anticipated. None of them relied on external forces, all for the sake of maintaining their luck and having a greater chance of appearing near them. But now, it seemed that it was still very far away from them. It was still a first-grade celestial realm. Even a heavenly venerable needed some time to tear through space to get there. The distance between the two was too far. Heavenly venerables could be a little faster, but divine lords and below would need a lot of time. No matter what, they immediately rushed out. Groups of experts swarmed out like bees, leaving their hives one by one. In the celestial realm closer to the Three Realms celestial realm, they were scared to tears. The token core actually appeared in the Three Realms celestial realm. What's going on? The token core appeared in the Three Realms celestial realm? Was this divine? They did not know what to say. Everything was too coincidental. The chaos celestial realm was just occupied, and then the token core appeared here. Everything was locked onto this place. In their opinion, it was really divine. But now they were hurriedly defending or hiding. Soon this place would become a battlefield. Who would have thought that the token core would appear nearby? And Etianyan kept flying towards Fanyu. If he stayed in the celestial realm for a month, then he only needed to stay in Fanyu for 6 days. That was equivalent to a month in the celestial realm. Soon Etianyan successfully flew out of the first-grade celestial realm and into Fanyu. When he left the celestial realm, Etianyan immediately felt time passing quickly. But the time flow on the token core did not change. Looks like I was too naive. I thought I could speed up the flow of time. They have already thought of a countermeasure. It's impossible to speed up the flow of time. Etianyan smiled. But this did not matter. His original intention was to leave his celestial realm and draw the flames of war to a remote area. I wonder which celestial realm will be the first to arrive here? Etianyan smiled. His heart was filled with the desire to fight. He was prepared to face the strongest combat power in the entire outer celestial realm. As to how strong this strongest combat power would be, that would depend on what level it would reach. He took out the starry divine spear and held it tightly in his hand. He floated in the void, waiting for the arrival of his opponent. While he was waiting, a large number of experts rushed over. When they found out that the celestial realm that snatched the token was from the Three Realms Celestial Realm, they were all dumbfounded. You're tuning in to the Limei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.